Everybody, welcome back to Free Game. We took a few weeks off to just allow everybody space to breathe and take in everything that was happening in the world. I thought it would be a little tone deaf for us to step in during the world getting a chance to really clear out its frustration around everything that's been happening for 400 years with Black people, COVID, recession. So with all of that being said, after taking a little break, I thought it was a good time to get back and have a discussion. And we had a lot of ideas about things we could talk about, but I thought it would just be best to leave the floor open to kind of talk about everything. I'm sure some people want to vent, some people want to talk about the state of Black culture, some people want to talk about a lot of things that have evolved and surfaced over the last few weeks. We were just, before you guys got on the call, we were talking about the Black Fashion Council and a lot of other newly formed groups that are coming up with everything that's happened. So feel free to jump in. Dave, you got anything before we get going? Or I guess what we should do introductions. I'm James Whitner, owner of the Whitaker Group.
Ari Langsdorf, partner in the foundation.
I'm Dre Hayes, a partner in the foundation.
Owner of Envision Fast and Liberty Fairs Capsule and Cabana Trade Shows.
I'm Pell. I'm the creative director at the foundation.
No doubt. And my name is David Butler. I'm the director of community initiatives for the Whitaker Group, handling all our community engagement across the country. Thank you guys for joining Free Game. Generally, how the format normally works is we keep everybody muted and have everybody submit questions to the chat. James, you want to keep that same format today, or how you want to maneuver with it?
I think we should get the same format today, and I think cool. We get enough flexibility in our group to just have an open conversation and an open discussion about a lot of things and kind of see where it goes. So if anybody has any questions surrounding business, if anybody got anything they want to talk about COVID related, anybody got any questions around accountability to Black culture? I mean, there's a ton of things that I'm sure is on people's mind right now. So let's kind of get to it. I think T. Adams raised her hand very quick. So if you want to get there, then.
How y'all doing? First, thank y'all for, continuing, with the Free Game. Yeah, like a lot of things have been going on in society. I first, do forgive me, I don't like speaking. I'm very passionate. I've been following you guys from the beginning of everything. And I keep shooting Mr. Whitaker, I keep shooting you DMs, everything. I'ma just go, I'ma just let it flow. Do forgive me, everyone. But I just gotta talk. So, I got this idea. You know what I'm saying? I've been having this idea, I'm not even being funny, since Jesus was a baby, honestly. I kind of I'm the type of person, I give everybody else what they need before I take myself into, accountability or whatever, take care of myself. But at this point in my life, I'm ready to really step into what I want to do and help not only myself, my family, but no disrespect to anybody, that's not of the Black race, but it's time, to take a little step and give to my people in so many different ways. I mean, I don't know, fuck.
Man, take your time.
I'm nervous as shit, bro. I've been geeking to talk to you for my own.
Well, let's start there. What are the things that I apologize that I missed. I've been all over the place over the last month. What are the questions you had? Let's start there. Let's just have a conversation.
All right. So I got this business idea that I've been having for like I said, for a long time. Still nobody has touched on it.
Well, tell me about it. Tell me, are you willing to share here, or do you want to share it privately?
I'd rather share it privately because I think, man, it's not even, honestly, to be honest with you, it's not even a little thing. I'm talking this joint could be a major enterprise, the way this shit is major. Like that's why I haven't shared it and like stepped
All right.
out with.
So won't you do this on the chat? You could text me directly on the chat. Hit me on the chat right now, and I'll go over it on the chat right now with you.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
My God, man. That's cool. I mean, I don't really know how to do it. I got to wait until, like, you know what I'm saying, my friend,
No,
like.
it says chat. Let me find you.
We might have to shoot her your email, Jay, because the chat is just coming to me as the host, so I can filter the
Well,
question.
here, my email address is Jay Whitner, JWHITNER.
Hold on.
Hold on. I can put that, can I?
Yeah, you can put it in the chat. You should, but well, hold on, that might come to me. Give me a second.
It's Jay
I'll
Whitner.
send it to him.
Yeah, well, yeah. Davis sending you my email address right now. If you don't need to feel like you need to put it in any specific terms, just get it out however you need to get it out, and I'll reply right now.
All right, that's a bet. I'm about to.
We can jump into the conversation. Is there anything else that was on your mind that you wanted to share?
Nah, that little vacate background that Dre got going on the dope, man. Yeah, but I'm about to chat with you right now. I appreciate you, man. All of y'all and all the things that you do. And to the black woman, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, that's what's up. Like, respect.
No, Sharifa is the truth. Thank you.
All right, I'm about to chat with you now. Thanks, my guy.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, bet. Next question is gonna be from Connor Scroggins. Give me 1 second. Let me get him.
Pell, you ready to share your screen with us, man?
For real.
What?
There go my man. There you go, the superhero Pell. He's finally in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
But I'm looking at a screen right here, and y'all are over here. So
Told
it
us
looks
you
like
to multitask, bro. This is how you been, Pell. How have you been during this pandemic? How have you been spending your time, brother?
Hutch knows. There's been some long.
Well, we're talking to you right now, not Hutch.
Nah, I mean, I'm blessed. I'm blessed, man. I'm too blessed to be stressed, honestly. I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing it during the COVID, and I'm still getting a check for it. So that's a blessing. I'm doing with people that are my friends.
That's a beautiful thing, man. I've been trying to get a job with the foundation for a long time, man. Check.
I thought you was trying to buy the foundation. Oh,
These dudes. Connor, what's your question, man?
Connor's in here. How you doing, Connor?
I'm doing good. How are you, James?
Man, I'm blessed, bro. I'm blessed.
Cool. Glad to hear that, man. So one of the weakest points in my business right now, I really like making things. I'm a maker. I'm a creative. Backgrounds in architecture and philosophy. I'm pretty extroverted too, so like I don't mind hitting people up randomly. But my weakest point is marketing and seeding. I recently got a project coming up in August. I've been doing these things for about 2 years. It's a shoe thing, and I'm trying to hit a couple people. It's been pretty crazy with like COVID. I've had some decent people, you know, heavier names that I've had the opportunity to seed to, but I'm kind of interested in like, you know, not seeding just the big names, but people I want to. I don't have that bridge built. What would be like a first step to potentially starting that bridge to be able to get someone a product?
Well, I think the first thing you got to do is create demand and awareness for your product, right? Because people can't want what they're not aware of, right? And if you don't want to push it out to the market as a whole, then you have to think about who's your target market for the product, and then start to meet them where they are and get them to engage with, because we're talking vaguely about quote unquote the product.
Correct.
Get them to engage with the product so people start to understand and kind of notice it. Ari, we talk about this stuff constantly. Ari, Sharifa, y'all got anything here?
I mean, right? James is right. Like, but you're trying to get seen before you're seen. So you're really trying to like do the guerrilla marketing that like, you know, guys that are already in the culture can just do seamlessly because they're connected to the people that help the demand happen before the product's available, which I'm assuming is what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things I've struggled with is, do you mind if I bring the shoe on Zoom? I don't know if some of y'all see him at all.
Go for it, bro. We're willing to be as open as you are. But Ari might steal your idea, bro. So just be aware of that.
Yo, my face is up here. Hutch's ain't. Right? Hutch out here screenshotting like a motherfucker. All right.
So one of my bigger. So I have gotten the shoes to somebody of a name sorts. I just moved back to Charlotte from Miami. One of my buddies, his name is Stills. He does a lot of stuff with Bad Bunny. So Bad Bunny wore the shoes in Puerto Rico, first night of the concert, second night of the concert. And it's just like I'm trying to figure out another way to get traction back. So I thermoform acrylic to Air Forces. And so my company's name is called TBD. I started in Miami. There's been a couple different people in Miami, like, have worn them. I've been able to send them to people. But I think, like, as far as it goes with seeding, I have been able to get to, a couple different names. And there's been a couple opportunities where, said names is interested in them. But, there might not be that connection of, like, a social media post. And I don't want to be that dude that's like, yo, my Instagram's at blah, blah, blah. I kind of want to try and be more genuine. Is there a way in a genuine manner to still be genuine and be like, yo, this is business. Like, I'm trying to
well, it's a sneaker, right? So plug into the local sneaker shop.
Hold up, James, I got a question.
Go for it.
I think I've seen that shoe in Shoe Gallery before.
Yes, so I teamed up with Nike and Shoe Gallery during Art Basel, and we did a one-of-one pair and raised money for a surf rider and a local kids organization about cleaning up beaches. We engraved in the sole and stuff like that. And that's like kind of honestly how marketing and seeding worked for me in Miami a little bit. People know who Shoe Gallery is. And people know who social status is. By all means, my name's not well known in Charlotte, so I don't want to send the DM to somebody and be like, yo, let's work.
Let me stop you right there. You have to send a DM to somebody.
Right.
That's what I was about to say.
That's a good answer. That's what I'll do.
You just gotta ask, bro.
Yeah, like
here's the biggest thing. Everyone's home, so you might as well send it now. You have better chance of getting a response right now.
And like sometimes, if you want some shit, you gotta ask.
Yeah.
You can't play
and you just did ask, just kind of, sorta.
Right.
So I've done this. Like, bro, just hit us up. Have you spoke to somebody from our team already? Because I vaguely remember Chris and Cav talking about this.
Yeah, so, I don't want to be that guy that, we've maybe passed in, like, the warehouse once or twice. I have spoken with Kev a little bit. Kevin's awesome. Chris, I grew up with. But yeah, I helped a little bit with the Manier kink rack, and I helped out with some of the engraving on the acrylic shelving unit in Houston.
So bro, why not say, James, I work with you on the Houston project, and I know who you are, just never had this level of, in the office, I'm a space cadet. I'm locked into what I'm locked in on. But yo, let's just build offline and figure out how we can get active.
Yeah, I got
what the moral of the story is. Ask.
For sure. So I think one of the things that, let me just shoot a shot right now. There's a development in the fourth ward of Brooklyn, Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that the development is actually respectful to the previous historic value of the city. I did a little bit of research.
I'm familiar
I'll
with
put together a packet.
I'm familiar with the Brooklyn project.
So they're
go ahead.
My internet connection is unstable. Sorry. So one thing I want to do is bring awareness to that. So maybe what I'll do is I'll get some information together, put a nice presentation, and be able to get y'all, a conversation started.
No, 100%. And let's. I just put my email address out there, right? But you know how to get in touch with Kev and Chris, so we could just have a conversation next week. Like, just hit up the team, and we could jump up. We could jump on the phone for 15 minutes. You could throw it all out there one-on-one, and then we could just figure some stuff out. Dave is right here. We could there's still a lot of actionable things that we could do now because of COVID. To Sharifa's point, I have the ability to take all the meetings in the world right now because I'm sitting in one place.
I hear that, man. And I think I just want to say I appreciate it because in this experience itself, I learned a little bit about the question I asked like 5 minutes ago. I just asked my question and, that's what Ari was saying. So I appreciate y'all's time.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to add something to that. So sometimes when you're trying to reach a person, the person that's the face of the company is not the person who's actually making the decision for these things. I spoke to a sales rep who's in real estate. They asked him how many times has he not closed the deal. He says he has closed literally every deal that he has when he was developing this app in real estate. The reason why he doesn't take no for an answer. He says he will go towards the economic buyer, the decision maker, the gatekeeper, and he just keeps hounding them, but he's also straight to the point. And listening to him, he said, when you are straight to the point, you sound like you know your shit. When you're dawdling and trying to find a way to talk and get an ask, it's like you're not sure about it.
Yeah.
Your shit is dope. You're sure about it, so you need to shoot straight. Yo, James, we did whoop-de-whoop, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm in Charlotte. You're in Charlotte. How can I get my joint in your store?
I know Cav can be quite a dick sometimes when he doesn't like things. Kev really likes your stuff because he was like on me about it. So you already got the person who I probably talk to most when it comes to work really on your side. So it could just be a situation where you need to step into the relationship that you already have. To Pel's point, you got Kev's ear. We've done stuff together. It's just about evolving a relationship.
That sounds good, and I'm definitely gonna evolve that. I'll definitely hit y'all up next week, and I'll get y'all some information.
Okay.
Hey, good luck.
Yeah, I saw that shoe gallery. I took like 30 pictures of it. I thought it was dope.
I appreciate that, man. That was a fun project. We definitely we did some fun work with that.
Cool.
Dope.
Thanks,
Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting what it takes to build confidence up in your voice, right? Because I think we were all in a place where he is before. Dave, you want to bring the next guy in?
Yeah, we give me 1 second.
Yeah, no, but yeah, the fact, Pell, to your point, finding that confidence to be able to just say what you got to say, it's easier. It's easier now because we've been in the business for so long, and we're like, and sometimes a little too confident about what we know. But
I mean, I think it's also about the development of one's elevator pitch.
Yeah, 100%.
If you have your mission statement and your elevator pitch and you go over it, I mean, this is something that I've just been introduced to, like the actual theory and the mechanism of how they do it, of how it gets done. And I'm talking about from the tech side. But it's just been very interesting to hear these people talk about they hammer the point in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I remember my elevator pitch to Ari when he was at PRPS and he smoked a cigarette the whole time and blew it in my face as he told me
outright lie. That's an outright lie. Outright lie.
He was smoking a cigarette.
Outright lie.
It might have been a joke when my person was like, we can't open you right now.
Yeah. All right, man. The next question is for Sharifa. It's from flightKidsUSA.com. That's the name that they have listed. It's about digital trade shows, or the trade show space going digital, I guess, having to do with COVID. You're unmuted. We should be able to hear you at this point if you wanted to ask your question directly.
Yes, my name's Shakira. I own Flight Kids USA. We're based here in Charlotte, and we are like a fashion-forward children's store. And actually, it's excellent to see the foundation on here to be able to put some names to faces because we are partners. We actually purchased BBC and Kappa from you all.
Nice.
But my question is in relation to the digital trade show. That's one of the silver linings of COVID-19 because it's kind of pushing fashion to really embrace technology. How close will the digital trade show be to being there in person? Like, how many different views of the products will be available, things like that?
I mean, it's going to definitely, I always say COVID came like at least 5 years too early, which is in regards to digital. No matter what platform you're on, you're going to only get the basics. So think about looking at line sheets on your computer, or maybe looking at images 360 degrees and turning around. That's what you're getting. I'm never satisfied, so I watch way too much TV, and I wanted some pop-up shit where you can like swipe and turn the shit around with your fingers. We're not there yet. But it is going to be as close as you can, but it is going to be very basic. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not that my expectations for something like this is like at least 5 years away. Whereas it's stuff that I've seen in shows and I don't understand why it's not even produced yet by someone. Because I've looked at every digital platform and they all are doing the same thing.
Yeah, basically, so what you're saying is a lot of the virtual reality stuff that we think it should be possible hasn't scaled yet.
No,
it's too expensive to try to try to scale on the platform.
Yeah, I just think that I think all the tech companies are now like scrambling. Everyone's scrambling right now. As soon as COVID started, brands that weren't online are now scrambling to try to get online. Brands that have no idea, but it also shows you how broken the system is, right? It's like you were only thinking as a brand one track, one way, and they were only thinking about basically the stores. They weren't thinking about the digital platform. So all the companies that are really successful right now are the companies that were on digital prior to COVID. Everyone else right now is really like scared shitless because their business is going down the hole because they didn't know what to do, and they're not even thinking that way. And it's hard to kind of train someone now that's older on tech. It's like the most craziest things. The conversations I'm having, people are like, you don't know what to do. So I would say that what you're going to get from it is you're going to get imaging, and it all depends on the brands. It all depends on how much effort the brands put into their work. You're going to get imaging, you're going to get the 360-degree thing, you're going to make sure you can see video and any conceptual things, but it all depends on the brand.
Well,
that the company can do.
Well, I wanted to chime in here. So from let's say from a B2B standpoint, and I knew Sharifa was going to get on that because that's part of her business she's dealing with right now. But like for us at the foundation, we've been using B2B platforms for a long time. Like we use New Order now, but we were early with Brand Boom, right? And I know for like some of the other retailers out there that deal with the Nikes of the world, you know, there's a lot of B2B platforms to begin with. I think the issue that you run into when we talk about this virtual buying environment, right? Because there's plenty of buyers out there right now that do business depending on the brand virtually. The issue that you're going to run into though, and bringing up what Sharifa was talking about, is even if the technology advances so that there can be more, look at the calendar that fashion brands are on. Like some of these brands, they're not even structured or have their lines ready early enough to take advantage of the technology if it was there. Like I can tell you, even for me right now, I mean, part of the reason why what Pell is talking about is all the work that Pell is doing to get the Kappa line ready so we could go selling on Monday. Even if, I mean, we don't even have samples of everything. Like we wouldn't be able to take advantage of all the things that technology could offer if it was there to offer it. Then when you start looking at collections, I start thinking about like Paris Fashion Week, and you start looking at some of those large collections. Like, yeah, they can do a Zoom meeting, but you can't feel the fabric.
Yeah.
You're never gonna be able to feel the fabric through the computer. So when they talk to James, they're like, yo, James, this coat is $3,000 retail. It's a lot harder to buy a $3,000 retail item than it is to buy a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like a t-shirt that retail for $35, $50, $65, that's easy. Screen print, graphic, cool. Somebody could talk about the texture and the artwork. But you know, when you start looking at those higher ticket items or really needing to understand and know what the product and fabrication feels like, you know, I don't know if virtual will ever completely replace in-person appointments. I feel like people are gonna do what they need to do, and yes, it'll become more prevalent and it will be in more use, but there are just some things that you can't do over this computer when it comes to buying this product.
It also hurts like the discovery aspect, right? When you walk Paris or you go to a trade show, like you enter someone's environment, you catch a vibe, you're looking for new things. When you're in a digital landscape, you're comfortable buying things you've bought.
Yes.
Especially at the price points with some of the things in a store like James's, right? Like, all right, he knows Amiri is like Amiri. He knows Dior is Dior. Like, he might not be shopping for the next price point without being able to see something like that. So it also, to me, like the biggest detriment is the point of discovery. The things that you already buy, you can play it safe enough and figure it out and know enough to feel comfortable. But like if you're a new brand, how are you pushing out? And if you want new things, how are you really finding them?
Right. Well, I guess it's the cool thing about kids, it mirrors the adult stuff. So the kids collection, it seems to come out a little after the men's and women's lines. But thank you for expounding upon that.
No, well, also just to add one more thing. When it comes to virtual too, there's a big movement in the industry now as well to operate off of 3D samples.
Yeah.
Right. So that's been a movement that's been going on for a long time where, because the sampling process and development process, if you can cut down on the number of samples, then it can help people get their lines ready. And, in the particularly larger athletic sportswear companies, they've been doing it for a long time just because the lines are so big that they never could sample everything. Whereas a brand like BBC, we basically sample everything. So anybody ever looks at a BBC line, basically sees almost every sample almost every product in the line. Well, this new movement towards 3D sampling and 3D rendering is also a form of virtual experience. So that's also another part, and that's not going to change. Like, I don't see, so in the future, I do believe there will be less samples. It's just, I don't know if we're going to be able to do everything without having some sort of in-person experience.
I think everything is going to the digital space, regardless of what happens next, is here to stay. It's always been here from a commerce perspective, but digital experiences aren't going anywhere because to scale, like once we figured out how to socialize, this is tech's dream. I can only imagine what tech is developing now to get us to be more comfortable in this space. But thank you for the question, and congratulations on everything you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Who we got up next? How we got up next, Dave? Yeah, it's interesting that she asked that question because with everything going on, I didn't even realize that Fashion Week technically is right now until we start. I mean, obviously we're doing appointments, but hell, I feel like I'm on a Zoom call every 15 minutes anyway. So I never even registered that. Like, oh yeah, it's Fashion Week too.
Yeah, I mean, and James, you probably need to go to a digital barbershop too. Just throwing it out.
Man, before y'all get rolling again, the next question is gonna come from. Apologies in advance for if I butcher your name, bro. But Olamide, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute him. He can go ahead and ask his question.
How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm great, man. How you doing, King? How you doing, Kings and Queens? Everybody on the call, appreciate your energy. Thank you for the free game. It's not letting me take my camera off, but I guess you guys can look at me in the suit. Don't mind the suit. But let's get straight to the point. So thanks for taking my question. Yeah, so essentially a little bit of background about myself. Right now I have let's start first. So first I was an artist. Went to school for art and things of that nature, but pretty much I started a brand. And then the journey to create that brand by myself without funding or any help, things like that, I ended up, how could I fund my brand by myself? Because I didn't know about business, things of that nature. So I got a job. I got the job in digital advertising. So I've been in that industry for about 6 years now. I've been working on tons of multi-million-dollar clients and things like that. But my whole plan was to enter the belly of the beast, learn how big brands operate, what do they do on a day-to-day basis when it comes to advertising and marketing, and then apply that for my brand and grow it and scale it, which is in fashion. So I've seen a myriad of industries, but I'm just trying to figure out now that I'm realizing that there's a big disconnect between what I'm trying to do and where I am right now, right? I've seen success within this, but it wasn't the goal, right? The goal was to go ahead and build my brand out the way it's supposed to be built. Just having a high level of awareness for what connects with the people. So my question is, how could one try to successfully transition from doing that, within the corporate world in terms of marketing, but now try to transition over to doing the same exact thing, but more so within fashion and really connecting and working with a bigger brand, something along those lines. One of my dreams is to work with a BBC, like you guys mentioned, or a Nike or Adidas, what have you. But just trying to apply online has been crazy. It's don't even try it. So I'm really trying to figure out how to make it connect more with the end goal in mind still.
Foundation team, y'all want to take this one? I feel like it's relevant to what y'all do.
It sounds like a bruh question.
Yeah, I thought so too. Brother Hutch?
But you muted.
I'm sorry, I stepped away for like 2 seconds, so I missed it. All right, you got to take it.
I would say this. I would say like a skill set is a skill set. So you have like a definitive skill set. Maybe your contacts aren't in the industry that you want to be in, but you understand like how the mechanism works in advertising and marketing. So when you go to big brands, like people at Bloomingdale's buy plates one day and the next day they're buying Young Men's. Like people at big advertising companies are working with Jockey one day and Bear Aspirin the next. So I think if you have a definitive skill set and you're polished and you're sharp and you got a good background, I think stepping to the big brands for a role that you find on their site or whatever that suits you isn't abnormal. You have a definitive skill set. It's applicable across industry. You know, would it be easier if you had contacts in fashion? Of course it would be, but you have to maybe take a step back. Maybe you go down a rung. Yeah, but like we've had guys work for us that were technicians at Verizon, or this woman who works for us now is leasing office space. I mean, they're just good at what they do. Applying it into our world is just, you know, teaching them those surroundings. So to me, go for it. I mean, you have a skill set. You're just trying to switch industries. That, to me, that's not that major. You have something definitive.
And then and echo that is too is what Pell said earlier. You have to have unwavering confidence in yourself, especially when you're switching industries, because a lot of times you're going to get these vague, weird like silences where people don't necessarily know what you're trying to do or why. So to Pell's point about your elevator pitch, to our point in earlier conversations about being prepared with decks and as many visuals as you can to show people your experience, how you've built up. One of my friends very recently left Nike, and he was running a huge business for Nike. So most people were looking at him like, what the hell would you leave Nike for? But then when I never questioned it, right? But he's a person that's very prepared, and we sat down and went over what he was doing. And once I went over it, it was like, holy shit, like he was very prepared. He had everything aligned, all of his context aligned for who he needed to speak to. He had his brand ethos built, production built, apps built, everything built. So he was prepared to move. So you have to make sure that you're prepared for success before making that transition, right? And so that may be a better question. What does preparation for success look like? Because it's that preparation that's going to get you into where you're going or where you need to go, if that makes sense.
I made the shift. I started out working in supply chain in Coca-Cola before moving into retail and then moving into various roles within the Whitaker group. And I think what you, in terms of to tie everything to something tactile based off of like, you know, Ari's feedback, James's feedback, it's like, yo, you got to be able to, when making a pivot or trying to change industries, you got to be willing to get within that industry at any level that you can. So it may not be that you go immediately to a big brand and apply for something off their website. You can work grassroots to grass top, and you can obviously apply for the job on the website and go through that route. But you could also be doing the tactile things where you're building up experience and applying the skill set that you have and learning how it works in the current space, whether that's running campaigns for a smaller brand that you may be able to get in contact with that needs that type of support, because smaller brands can't necessarily afford or pay for it up front, especially while you already have another gig that may be paying your bills. You have the ability to freelance and build up your portfolio and build up your contacts through working in the industry as well. So, I mean, I would suggest that, you know, you find somebody who may not be your actual target that you may be looking to hit right now, but what's that mid to lower level brand that could use your marketing idea, use your support, and now you have a tangible example. And you also never know who people know within the industry, because that independent shop owner or that independent brand owner who you're thinking is like, you know, this the guy that's doing whatever, he might be really connected to somebody and be waiting on his opportunity as well. And that's an opportunity to kind of work across the network that you have currently, but you're simultaneously shifting into the industry to be able to move forward. So I would say, don't make it an all or nothing thing of like, oh, I want to start, I got to exist in this brand at this level. But if you're really serious about shifting into the industry, you'll shift into the industry and you'll be able to maneuver and you'll be closer than you were when you were working that corporate job. So for me, that shift was working supply chain at Coca-Cola to making $7.80 selling t-shirts at Zoomies in the mall. I wasn't, it's a big economic dip. It's a big change, but I also was starting over. And it also got me a lot closer to the product that I cared about. I was around people who cared about the same things. And from there, I was able to leverage into different opportunities at other retail companies, which gave me the experience and the backing to be able to leverage into my work that I was doing with the Whitaker Group, which originally ended up being product photography because of my photography skill set. So I would just say, get in at the industry at any level that you can, do the work, and the contacts and everything else is going to come as a result of doing the work.
Excellence speaks loud, bro. When you, like I tell my team, man, with shit, like everybody says, actions speak louder than word. Action speaks louder than word. Action speaks louder than word. And intention and work ethic and focus. And when people see and understand you're those things consistently, it makes it easier for you to get there. You'll start to develop a reputation that'll precede itself.
Yeah, I appreciate those words. And I tried everything in terms of applying and everything, but I guess we could agree that it's not what you know all the time, it's who you know, but what you know keeps you there.
Well,
so I guess that's kind of been the disconnect.
Let's back up.
Because I fell off. So
let's get surgical. Let's get surgical for about 30 seconds. Where did you apply to?
Nike, that was one of my dreams, and then I applied to Adidas. I even applied to you guys. I got connected by Upscale Vandal. That's when he was more active back in the day, and he used to be in like his stories and things like that.
I remember that. That's when we were much smaller. Where do you live?
Brooklyn in New York City.
Okay. All right. Hit us offline, and then I think it just may be the approach. Does that make sense? We've all been told no hard. Does that make sense? I got a lot of hard no's in my career. There's people that I used to give people problems or make jokes of people who told me no, and then we're working together in really close proximity. So no now is a no later. Hutch said that to me a million times in my life, and I used to hate it when he said it to me at that time, but it's the truth. It's all about follow-up and making sure that you're presenting yourself the right way, and some of those things we'll be able to help with. So let's move some of this to offline. I got to get a better way of communicating and following up because the last 8 weeks I've been not so good at it, and I usually am.
But let me jump in real quick. On one of the last free games, like getting to yes. Another thing, if you get the no, ask them, how can you get to yes? What do you need to do? And let them give you the tutelage.
Yes. That is the most important. The most important information that comes with a no is, what do I need to do to get to yes? Why? If someone's willing to tell you why, that's the best information you can get, because you then have the ability to hold them accountable. And accountability and transparency is the gateway to yes.
Funny thing about this circumstance is that I never actually got into the door to have a conversation. I think I'm pretty good when we can actually speak face to face, because I'm more of an old school type of person. Like, hey, let's communicate, or whatever the case may be. I've never gotten past the application process. So it's just apply, hope for the best, never hear anything. So I've never had the opportunity to receive the why, right? But I'm gonna take that into consideration and figure out some way I can.
So do me a favor, do this. Send me over to my email address right now while we're on this call, and I can look down at it. The standard way, if we had a job opening right now, what does your package look like? Copy and paste the last package you sent to whatever employer for whatever role, and I'll email you back right now. And I'm still waiting for the other email too. That's why I keep looking down and looking at my inbox so I can make sure I multitask. Do you have my email address?
Yeah, I'm just gonna shoot over that I have a resume. That's pretty much.
But shoot it over as if you just got you just got connected to somebody who wants to give you an opportunity. Make sure it don't miss a beat. I want to understand what your perfection looks like, because then I could tell you why you're not getting what you're supposed to get. Does that make sense? And if it's perfect, then I'll figure, then hell, I might hire you my damn self. Does that make sense? because I'm gonna use some money from Ari. He got enough, or I might need the whole sum.
Yo, James, add me to that email too.
Hutch, put your email address in.
I was gonna say add me as well.
You see, brother, you getting some rhythm right now.
Appreciate you guys. All right, cool.
Hold on, we gonna give you those. Matter of fact, you hit me and I'll hit them on email. I'll hit them on email and add you to their email. Does that make sense? So email me and I'll email Sharif and Antoine. Or if I was you, I would be like, no, give me their email addresses right now. That's what I would do.
Right now, brethren, I need the emails now. Yes, sir.
If y'all drop them in the chat, I'll send them over to him.
We gonna drop them in the chat right now, so you'll have them, bro.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we got a little bit of a curveball, but it's gonna be. I think it'll be a good one, but it'll be a good shift in the conversation. So the next question is gonna come from Courtney Hunt.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Can y'all hear me okay still?
We can
hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I really appreciate being a part of this and seeing every artist come together and, you know, being social. I think this is a dynamic, you know, platform to really use resources and collaborate. So that kind of leads me to the question. I know Dave said it's a curveball, but really when you put it all together, we're kind of essentially working on this, and it's called cooperative economics. I started diving into it a little bit. I recognize that this has been something that's been around for like a century or such, and it was originally used for like the upper echelon to go into like housing and all sorts of economics. And I noticed we use it a lot when it comes to the arts and building our community, using our resources, talking to people, exactly what I just watched happen at least twice now, speaking with each of you all. So I just want to know if you guys know anything or can speak on how we can, as a community, you know, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, but I really kind of trigger this too, as the time is, to our Black economy ultimately, and seeing how we can render those services and creating a more cooperative economy. So yeah, if you guys can speak on that, that'd be awesome.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, right? Because my favorite subject in college was economy, and I was an economics minor. So cooperative economics is exactly what you said is, right? But the term sounds so much more formal than the action, right? And you're absolutely right. The only way for the Black, any community, right? If you take a household, start with a household, that's about a community. If that household or that family starts working together, right, collaboratively, like any family does, the result of that family, if everyone takes all the correct steps and helps build each other up, is that family's economic situation should shift from one place to plus whatever, right? So your thinking is absolutely right, and I think that is the purpose of free game.
Mm-hmm. So I guess I want to lead that into, where do you all think we could take this to, you know, like when it comes to land acquisition or school for the economies?
Well, so the platform, and we've been using this platform digitally since COVID happened, but in the physical platform, we've been doing free game for about close to 2 years now. And with a lot of the free games, we've went through credit, we went through housing, we've brought in bankers. So all of those things, I think it's really about, obviously, because we don't have a structured economy, right? Because we don't have like a membership base that's measurable, it's tougher for us to say, hey, what are the members of free game learning? Although this is going right. Part of me wanting to develop free game is trying to get universities to give this program accreditation and use the people who show up every week to help as quote unquote professors be able to give the people who attend accreditation to leverage to use as certificates and even eventually bachelor degrees, if that makes sense. If we can build the program, if we can build this into a program, into a collegiate program. Am I making sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the actual idea of free game as a whole is it's what you see it now, but as it begins to take form and take shape, we're working behind the scenes to make this to make this a more meaningful program that the people who participate consistently can use and leverage in their life in other ways. Does that make sense? No different
Absolutely.
than
I need to be bringing in more often.
Yeah, no different than you now get access to the people on the screen who have volunteered their time to help. You get access to our bank contacts when we bring in bankers. You get access to anyone who we bring on. They're opening themselves up to the free game community, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Dave, you probably got something here. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
Oh. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it, for me, I always try and get people to think work in the areas where they're passionate about. And when you talk about whether it's a financial resource or some other type of resource, being able to set up some type of barter system to move things forward, I think it's important that you start where you're passionate at, whatever the resource is that you can provide to that space. That ultimately is going to help that community. And it's about, I think the issue or only thing that we have trouble with after that is figuring out how to scale those operations. I think it was a little different back in the day when you look at the historical context of how it was used. Like, it's funny you brought this question up because I just finished reading Black Fortunes, which is about the first 6 African-American millionaires. And they actually talked about how there was one, there was a guy one of those guys worked with his pastor to break the color line in, I want to say it was in Harlem, but yeah, so it's a little bit different because the economic situations are different and you have to account for kind of like classism in the situation that we're in right now. But I definitely think if you start in an area that you're passionate about, start to circulate resources at that point, it's just about figuring out a model that scales, that works for that community, or works for that subculture, and moving it forward.
I was going to ask, when you brought up cooperative economics, you were speaking in the historical context of when like the dollar circulates through the community, so it brings the whole community up. Was that how you were speaking? Because I know that there's different types of cooperative economics. It's kind of, there's different views about how it goes, but was that what you were saying? Was it more about the dollar circulating through a community per se?
Yep, Dre Hayes, that's exactly
and
right.
the dollar keeps getting spent in that community, so the community gets built up, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that I understood what angle you were coming from. Yeah, it reminds me of that.
Starting from grocery stores.
Excuse me?
So this is to include grocery stores, and then the people who work for the grocery stores, that you're keeping that same dollar within the community, no matter where that platform might be. But that's what I was speaking on.
One of the biggest problems, and particularly in the Black community, I know, is that cooperative economics, in the Black community, the dollar does not circulate, it leaves. They talk about the other communities. In the Asian community, I think it circulates the longest. And in the Black community, I remember I watched that Phil Mike episode, he was just like 6 hours, right? And I think that's what he said, 6 hours, 10 minutes or something. It was crazy. Like, I couldn't believe how quickly the dollar just leaves the community and just goes somewhere else. I was like, it's crazy.
Well, the thing that I was going to say was the other issue is there isn't enough. We need more Black entrepreneurship, and the idea of the platform is to not just encourage everyone to be an entrepreneur, right? But it's to encourage everyone to get the information to be better. And if that leads to entrepreneurship, then cool. But we definitely, with that said, we definitely need more Black entrepreneurs, especially Black women entrepreneurs.
I really appreciate you saying that, Mr. Whitner, because something that keeps coming up, like I love my artists. I'm an artist myself, but I don't actually have a platform right now. But, you know, I love to see people putting out their work, their shoes, their shirts, their all of their products. But
Well,
what
let me pause you too. You do have a platform. You're on it. Like this platform is here for you.
I appreciate that. But what I don't want to see is the competition amidst like one graphic designer, another graphic designer, and everyone wanting to be an entrepreneur and not really building much outside of just themselves and their brand, which I think is important. I mean, as an artist, we're sensitive about our shit, so you don't necessarily want somebody stepping in and, you know, switching up what you want to do. But as a collective, when we look at the amazing amount of resource we have within our community, I don't understand what we have to do to pull people together a little bit more. But I think this is definitely, you know, using the Be Social platform and free game is something that is going to really reach out to people to bring them together more.
And the goal is to just get a unified voice. We were having that conversation before, because you're right. If you're saturated in graphic artists, right, and you got 50 graphic artists in Charlotte, and none of them are getting on by themselves. But if those 50 graphic artists all work together for one singular thing and made that one singular voice very loud, the world can then hear their unified voice in a way that they can never hear their individual voice. So I agree with you completely. That makes sense. So that's where you have to know when you need to be collaborative, and sometimes that collaboration means working with and for the right people, because those people will then. Perfect example. Our photography team. We've turned over 4, 5, or 6 photographers to Hypebeast over the last couple years, either between Hypebeast and High Snob. That's not something that's a bad thing for us. What it says to me is that the Whitaker Group's collective voice speaks so loudly that it makes other entities interested in the people who work with us and for us. Does that make sense? So,
that does.
So the goal is, to your point, if you don't feel like you have a platform, you have to look at where you're investing your time and where you can be most effective to learn, understand, build a platform, be a part of a team that you can be proud of, and something that you love, and then be able to grow and move into the next thing.
I respect that. Thank you. Thank you all for taking my question and speaking on it.
No, thank you. Thank you. It was a very good question.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Cool. Our next question is going to come from Isaac Abo.
Isaac, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all doing all right?
Oh, man, blessed. Ain't no complaints.
Cool. It's not more, I mean, yeah, I had a question at the beginning, and more so I've just been commenting as I followed along with the conversation going on. Like recently, Courtney, she mentioned the whole collective, working together as a collective, creating that whole economy. Like, I have a finance and economics background. And so one of the comments, what I said, like, our community doesn't always understand the trade-off necessarily, like from working as an individual to transitioning to working as a collective. And like you were mentioning, like to have that, like individually, you know, we'll do this and do that and not be recognized. But if we come together and work and we have that common goal, that sometimes will speak louder than our individual voices. And I think more so if we had more of that conveyed, with my earlier comment was like brands and organizations with the products that they create addressing like social issues within communities. Like, should they take on that responsibility?
Hell yeah.
So they should. But if it's not a genuine, like if it's all about the bottom line, because they recognize like, oh, if I'll just use Black Lives Matter, right? If I just put that out on my product, then, oh yeah, everybody who feels moved by all the events taking place, they're gonna swing the pendulum and get me out of the red into the black real quick. because they're going to move all my inventory that's not being moved right now because of the COVID crisis. Like, you have organizations and companies with products with inventory that's not moving. So if you're strategic minded marketing, you're like, okay, I've got this demographic. I know they purchase my items, but right now, COVID, it's a recession, downturn. They've got the stimulus checks, but they're really going to hold on to it because they have other pressing matters. But then they have this going on in their community. If I just finesse the two, I can move my inventory. I can just move it, get me out of the red into the black. Get as an organization, put me in a more sustainable position financially, and then next month transition over to, let's just say, LGBTQ community. You know, the next fashionable thing. So my first comment was like, should organizations, should brands really speak on social issues within a consumer base that they're targeting if it's not genuine? And then
it always has to be genuine, right? Listen, if brands aren't showing up as their authentic self, they're full of shit and we should back up, right? So let's back up. Let's unpack all these statements that we're hearing and all this bullshit that we're hearing from brands, right? If these brands aren't backing themselves up and not supported with Black people and Black faces, and if Black faces aren't benefiting from that work and they're not pushing forward to help Black communities, fuck them. The end, right? And it's not about cancel culture. It's not about cancel culture, but it's about, to your point, there has to be authenticity in it, right? But listen, look at a lot of brands. There's also us. We got to be sensible too, right? As a culture, we have to say it, and you know, Black people are the most forgiving culture, right? So if a brand is pivoting and saying, hey, you know what? I've been doing this, and you know what? I'm sorry, I've been pimping Black culture. What do I need to do to be better? We have to listen. And if they're making the steps to do the right things, to bring in the right people, to make the change, authentic change, then we could be accepting of that, right? Because the one thing we can't do now is try to burn the world down because of what happened over the last 400 years, right? We have to change the world and be intentional about what that means and how that looks. And I said it earlier, we have to hold people accountable to their words. We have to force people to be transparent, and with transparency and accountability, then we'll know how authentic they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I also want to chime in, Isaac. I think it's also, we need to be accountable for ourselves, right? Like, we see what's going on around us. We see what's happening. It's up to us to really make the change as well and understand on if we want to support that or we don't. And I think that that's what's missing nowadays. It's like everyone's saying that it's like cancel culture, but we have a decision to make on our own and say, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you. Or you can say you want to continue to support it and still be mad at them when they're doing the same shit. Do you know what I mean? So it's up to us first, originally, to make that decision. And that's the best thing about this time. It's like we have a moment right now to really make change, like James is saying, right? We have a moment to build infrastructures that's going to support us long term. But it all starts also with us, you know?
Very good point, Sharifa. Man, listen, the one thing we got to realize, and we said it before this call, our unified voices, and we got a lot of strong leaders in this country, but our unified voice is our strongest voice. So we can't be fragmented and fighting against each other, because in history, that's why we've never made progress. We have to be comfortable having a unified voice and a unified message and standing behind unified points, right? Accountability, transparency. And I see somebody said over here, if companies don't have Black leaders, they're not. I agree 100%. Black leadership is a part of it. Hell, there should be equal amounts of Black people throughout all organizations, especially if they're organizations that focus on a Black community, right? Everything isn't for for us, right? But the things that are targeting us, we should have a position, we should have a stake in those businesses, if that makes sense. Is this making sense to you? I feel like we hijacking your question.
No. It totally makes sense because I understand. Because again, I have that background in economics and finance, and then for me, my father, he had his own business, so he was an entrepreneur. But just like any person from underserved community, I grew up with challenges, grew up in the hood. So my father, he got killed. I think, I was like 10 or 11, so he got killed. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. But I just understood business from an early standpoint because I got it shown to me in my childhood. And then I just carried that on through my, endeavors, pursuing education and stuff. So all of it makes sense, but I don't think us as a community, enough of us know that, like what you were saying, if the change that we can make, if we all collectively say like, okay, we're going to withhold our dollars, not just for July 7th, but we're going to withhold our dollars. So certain brands, certain organizations, you might bring a product to market, like BBC might bring a t-shirt to market and we might love it. But if we don't purchase it, then we know like, oh, okay, what's the detriment to that company? Like if your boy Emery, they're bringing, get MJ, Jordan, we love Jordan. But if we collectively say like, you know what, this is a moment in time where we can't afford to purchase these goods because we're going to make a statement on top of, hey, some of us in our communities, we're in a recession. Those stimulus checks, we have to survive off that. We have to survive off the $600 a week that we're getting on top of our unemployment benefits, because companies aren't hiring us when it is going to pick back up. Maybe a good handful of us during this time didn't use it wisely to say like, okay, when employment picks back up, what skills do I need to have so I look attractive to the job market? A lot of us, we say, oh yeah, I want to start my own, I want to start my own clothing line, my own brand, but we're not thinking like, okay, the tech aspect of it. Am I learning how to use Photoshop? Am I learning how to use this skill? Am I learning how to use, so I can take that and transition that to maybe go work at Google, maybe go work at Zoom.
And I think what I'm hearing you saying is we just, we meaning black folks as a culture, we have to invest our time. Our time is our most valuable resource. And we have to invest it in educational opportunities to make ourselves and our situation in our community better. And brother, I believe that in my heart, and I'm going to work till I ain't got a voice to get people to understand the importance of it. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the dialogue.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate you guys.
I want to dial back a little bit to what you was talking about as far as us having collecting our money and saying, no, we're not going to spend with you. We're going to spend with this person or that person or whatever. And I'm challenging this to the room. I feel we knew that problem. We didn't need George Floyd to happen. We didn't need no riots to happen. We didn't need no looting to happen. Gucci happened. Montclair happened. Prada happened. And we can't stop buying that. So we don't need another person to die or we know what the problem is. I feel personally, God forbid if the hood ever gets educated and understands their true value and they say we ain't doing it no more, that's when it's going to be a problem.
I agree.
For everything.
And that,
I'm talking about collective economics, putting your money so we come together and buy a building somewhere. We don't do that. Like the people who are trying to do that, it's not really the people that are in the hood. The hood is coddled right now, unfortunately. Like kids in the projects, they trying to think about, they want to look fresh. Yeah, like you're dealing with you're impoverished, so you're still trying to have some sense of looking fresh, feeling good about yourself. So I get it. You spending your money, and plus you're not educated on what you really should be doing for this to get you out of that situation. So it becomes generational.
Mm-hmm.
But if the hood sees Gucci as being a step up and elevation to who you are inside, that's a bigger problem that we got to figure out.
100%. We have to understand what we mean to us.
Yeah.
And we have to stop looking for ways to cut each other down and build each other up. We cannot be our worst enemies. We have to be our biggest advocates.
Like there are very big and powerful Black brands that are out here already. There's like Telfar, there's Laquan Smith, if you want to rock some stuff, and there's a slew of others that I don't really even know all the names to them. They need support. They need support. They need support in stores. They need support from the Black community to buy their stuff. And that's going to show the world like, yo, I need to get this. Don't just get the Telfar bag. You need to buy actual product, but also if it looks good, not just buying it to buy it, if you really believe in it. But I mean, there are products and things that are out there that we can support instead of putting your money towards somebody else that's not messing with you and does not have your best interest in you, does not understand your culture.
Does not care. Does not.
Yeah. But let's not use BBC as a example.
No, I just
because part of my check comes from BBC a little bit, okay?
But
messing with you, man.
should it fall upon like those brands to say like, hey, you know what? We make products for us. We speak to you, but hey, also think twice. If this product or service is going to hinder you from maybe paying your tuition to go to school, or maybe getting your lights cut off, or maybe buying some property, should the market, I think it's called like the product marketer, should they?
Yeah, I had a debate on this in college. Oh God, I love college. They call it oh God, it's a term for this. It's a counter marketing one that goes after people who, when you're going after people when you know they can't afford the items. Is it right or isn't it right?
That's predatory marketing.
No, it's another term. They don't use predatory because that sounds bad. It's another term. Oh God, I ain't gonna claim old. Go ahead, Dre.
No, but what I was gonna say was, I mean, really, when it comes down to this, obviously we take a brand like, and we'll use BBC since BBC was brought up, right? BBC is a company. I would say we don't engage in predatory marketing. Yes, we have a brand. Yes, the brand has a price point. It was founded by Pharrell and Nigo. It has nostalgia to it, but I wouldn't say that the way the brand is marketed is to go and prey on our people, right? Now, it is coveted by our people and people want it, but the brand wasn't created for that, right? And that's not the way, I mean, they ain't even really no traditional kind of marketing that goes into the brand. So some of this is deeper, and it goes back to some of the other things that have been mentioned here, where the community has a style. If you can't afford the product, there's something else that's deeper that's going on here, just outside of people purchasing product or whether or not they can't afford it, and to me, in some respects, yes, the brands can be held accountable and need to do more things for the community. But at the same time, the brand by itself is not going to be able to stop these people from purchasing.
Well, yeah, I think that it's up to the individual of what you're going to purchase. They're not jumping into your wallet. It's still up to you.
I'll use Nike for instance. So Chicago, right? Back in the 90s, I want to say mid 90s, early 90s, there was that basketball player Benji. He was projected #1 high school basketball player, but then he got killed. Simeon High School. He was the projected overall. They did a ESPN 10x10, ESPN 30 for 30. So he got killed. Nike responded to that, and I remember this vividly because I was just a kid. And I remember how Nike responded to that with commercials. It was a black and white commercial. They shot it in the neighborhood of Chicago, and they had that community talk about. There was one person, he just said, you know what? Our young athletes, they train, they work so hard, they're shooting for the stars. We can't shoot at them. Like, they took people from that community, took their emotions, and translated that into their marketing campaign for the rest of their products. It was like, hey, Nike was like, yo, this is going on in this community with these young athletes that we use to help sell our products to a wider, vast community. Let's take the people who are being affected, include them, and like, let's hear their voice, and then that'll speak. Maybe it did something for that moment in time, but it was something that stuck with me as a child. I was like, oh, wait, like that kind of created my whole brand loyalty.
So what you're so are you saying you don't believe that's what that brand stands for?
No. I'm saying like brands now, modern times right now, brands aren't doing that anymore. They're not seeing, like, I mean, Nike's one of the brands that does it, but other brands that cater to us, market to us, they don't necessarily say, like, they don't identify the problem, diagnose it, but then they don't take people who are actually affected. They'll do a hashtag, they'll do a glitz and glamour, so on and so forth. Like, we care, but the people who actually, quote unquote, like, not to say you're preying on, use those people, include them in your campaign, like actually get their true feelings, their sentiment, their emotions, and actually say that, like, yo, as a brand, as a company, we know this is going on in your community, whether we have anything to do with it or not. But
no, I agree with you, but I think it has to go a step further. But because we went so long on a question, we got to let other people get in. But I appreciate the dialogue. Ultimately, I think, I got a ton I could say about it. We can keep going about it. It was an incredible question. But yeah, to Sharifa's point, we have to be responsible for us, and we have to make choices to invest back in ourselves. And to Dre's point, none of us can stop or change the economy. But what we can do is pay in, pay forward, invest in the community, and use our voices to lead. And you did a good job with using this conversation. Your question is a thought starter. So we appreciate you, bro.
No, I appreciate that.
I do have one other thing before we
Dre, we've been on it for
no, not about that. I was just gonna say there was a lot in the chat about people commenting, and one of the common themes was representation.
Yes.
Which I think is one of the keys, and that's what he alluded to at the end, but it's representation in leadership, it's representation in campaign, it's representation in general. Yes. That is the biggest thing, and that's the last thing I wanted to add.
No. This part, and Dave, you can start queuing up the. Let me. Isaac, thank you for the question. We're gonna queue up the next question, but keep the conversation going because the chat is going crazy right now. The chat's been going crazy the whole time you've been talking. So my fault, Dre. But no, the point, representation, hell yes. Like we should be in all those companies that put out the ads, Nike specific, Adidas specific, anybody who's targeting the 1.4 trillion that we spend a year, anybody that's coming for a piece of that needs to have representation from top to bottom. Yep. The end. And they need to be, and that company needs to be investing back in the community where the dollars are coming from. It has to be 360.
Yep. That's the key. And representation actually will end up solving quite a few of these issues just through having the representation, because the issues get addressed. You know, you get the right people in the campaigns. Then you end up with ads that aren't toned down.
Because you have the ideas being influenced by people who are actually from the communities, not just. That's where culture vulture comes from. Go ahead, Dave.
Next question is coming from Cassidy Edwards.
Hey, I hope everybody's. I'm good. I hope everybody's doing good tonight. But I had a question, and I'm going after that amazing question. So pardon me. But this is kind of in regards to community outreach. So I work in corporate America in human resources. So we have just as much as a responsibility as anybody else to drive those initiatives as far as, you know, diversity and inclusion. And it's more than trainings and webinars and little frills and bells and whistles. It starts with the talent, right? And a lot of times we take that back to college, like recruiting through the colleges. But what I have done is reach out to the Boys and Girls Club. This is just on my own, not through my company. I also work for CNK Daily, which is where I'm in Houston, the founders in Dallas, and we're a platform that serves as a voice for women in sneaker culture. So especially women of color, because we're all women of color. So I reached out to the Boys and Girls Club in Houston, and they had a town hall where the teenagers spoke about how they felt. Sorry, it cut me off. They spoke about how they were feeling about the social injustices and like the national unrest that's really going on, talked about COVID. And they were so passionate. And I think that right now they're really going through some hard times with, you know, the summer programs. They're still enrolled, like there's a virtual summer program, and there's actually a lot of kids that are enrolled in the like in person. But I'm trying to create a mentor program, like a purposeful mentor program, to kind of go beyond that college pipeline, like to show these kids that you don't have to be pressured to be an entrepreneur. Like you can still work in corporate America, but you can also be a creative if you want to. So through my network of people that I know in Houston, I like to bring them along to create this mentor program where they have, you know, artists, DJs, human resources, you know, business, career development. Like you said, it's kind of like a free game for the kids, right? So all that to say, outside of an elevator pitch and like what you would want to hear on the why and how I connect the dots to like my story of why I would want to do it. What's something that you would want to see if someone was coming to you to ask you to be a part of something like that? Like a mentor.
You just did it. You could just email Dave and we'll put you in free game. We'll put you in Be Social in Be Social in Houston. It was built into our social status location in Houston since we've been down for the pandemic. It's there already. You have a physical space that you can use for free. We got resources lined up to help you. You just did your elevator pitch. You're done. It was easy.
Oh.
Dave at the Whitaker GRP. You did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's all I had today.
Yeah, no, that was. I was sitting there thinking like, okay, we got something for you. Yeah, no, we have.
Luckily,
go ahead, Dave.
Luckily, we've already worked with CNK in Charlotte and Be Social as well. So there's already a natural synergy. So we just waiting for COVID to clear up so we can get to Houston. What up to everybody that's Houston fam that's in the Zoom room right now. We'll be getting active in as soon as we can.
And if you want to get something going in the digital space, our team is cranked up in the digital space. So if you just want to jump on a call with our team next week, we can. Well, I'm talking for Dave. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry. Right here.
James trying to line up my meetings the way he lined up his meetings. But
I'm sorry.
But we'll get you right, and we'll get you what you need to be able to move forward. I mean, it sounds dope. You already have, you know, all the intangibles are already there. We approach community for everybody on the call that doesn't know how we approach community. We don't kind of like parachute into communities and just drop off resources or do things from our own perspective. Our perspective is always to empower people who are already doing dope things in those communities and, you know, put our resources behind them to amplify their voice, because nobody knows your community better than you do. And nobody understands the needs more than you do, just like you were able to be at that town hall with those kids. To be able to have access to those kids, it's like, okay, cool, the base is already there. How do we help you message around it? How do we help you brand around it? How do we amplify and make it bigger? So that's how we approach community, anything that we do. So to James's point, we'll get you what you need to be able to amplify it, whether it's space or, you know, trying to figure out how to connect to other organizations that, you know, have tapped in on you once you actually get the program up and rolling, or even helping you build out the curriculum and the framework for those things, because we have other nonprofit partners that do a range of different things, right? So our goal is just to be another bridge and another gap and another way to get resources to folks. So looking forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. I grew up in Third Ward in Houston, and it's so important for these kids to see people that look like them doing all kinds of different things in all different industries, because right now some of these kids are coming out of like domestic abuse homes, and it's just really important for them to have some hope, you know.
Man,
So
listen,
I appreciate that.
I knew your face. I was sitting there thinking like this.
Yeah, James.
I'm sitting there like this is a little familiar, but yeah, no. You got me excited. Thank you for being you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you guys doing? Yeah, greetings from I'm here in London, so shout outs to you guys. I think everyone's in the US. Yeah, I had a question. I guess you know, I run a sneaker website called The Word on the Feet. But before I did that, and well, I still do now, I'm a global expert on culture in the area of human rights and criminal justice. But I was also a sneakerhead. And so I worked for an organization that's based here in London for 6-7 years, working on high profile US cases, guys who were detained in the global war on terror, guys who were on death row. And we conducted frontline investigation to get many of those guys who were wrongfully convicted out of prison.
As an advocate or an actual attorney?
I'm a frontline investigator. So I'm an attorney, but I don't practice. But I work closely with attorneys, and we basically work, well, I work on the front line, what I call the front line, deep within communities to create accurate narratives of our people, so that we're able to humanize our people in front of the judge, and tell real stories of our communities.
Do you do anything with prison rights?
Yes, we do. Yes. And we also do training, you know, and we are trying to get young people from the affected communities into this work, because the field of criminal justice in the US is a field where over 90% of the attorneys are white, you know, and so there's huge underrepresentation, but unfortunately, those who are facing charges or those who are convicted are not white, for the large part.
Yes.
So the sneaker connection comes in because basically, you know, I had a lot of issues around funding the work that I do. And then I had left my job and I started a sneaker website here in London. And we started to get approached to do, you know, paid content, to do photo shoots, to create content. And so I took all the money that we got from that to fund my organization to do human rights work, and then to travel to meet people and network, and then you know. But now I'm a world leader in this type of work. But I guess my question was, you know, often when I speak about this type of work, I'm speaking at conferences with lawyers, with attorneys, or about human rights, and so we're always speaking to those who are already kind of on our side, and I think a lot of the time we're not able to reach a much wider audience, right? And so that kind of prevents us from sort of moving forward with our work, right? And so right now, you know, what I find is that the community are not as strong as they could be because, you know, they're not empowered themselves, right? Like, we don't have our own people doing this type of work. You know, so we don't have, you know, we're not able to create within our community sort of layers of protection by being able to investigate when you know, injustices are committed, right? You know, to be able to attack the system that is unfair, to be able to attack a system where we are underrepresented, and to attack a prison system where we are overrepresented, right? So you know, there's many different levels, but access to the field is one where there's, you know, we are not represented as people who represent our own people. And secondly, I don't think there's enough knowledge within our communities, and that has to grow because that is what serves as a layer of protection.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
All right. This is going to be a little weird, but it's just who I am. Personally, my older brother been incarcerated for 20 years. He's at the end of a 20-year sentence. And I spent the last probably 3 days looking for prison rights attorneys based on different issues he's going through in the prison that he's in. So you're absolutely right. The space, I'm finding myself needing to talk to criminal attorneys who are normally working on criminal cases to either pre-conviction or post-conviction, but not prison rights or prison reforms. So first, after this call, I would love to get your information because I would love to see if I could potentially hire you to help, because it's kind of a situation that I need to get taken care of. And second, same thing with the last young lady we talked to. You're absolutely right. I had a call with our team, Dave, that was 2 days ago, and we're working on a program where we got a couple names for it, but we're working on a lot of systemic issues in the Black community. And one of the ones that's key for me to speak on is like product swap, right? Because for me, I've always said to my friends, the only thing I chose to do is stop selling illegal product and start selling legal product, if that makes sense. So I think a part of the unwinding of getting people to get where they need to go mentally and have the confidence to make the transition, to get the education and take the steps to make the right step, to make the change is important. So with everything you're saying, I know you're across the pond, as some of my friends would like to say, but at a deeper level, I would love to connect with you. And I mean, you're absolutely right. There are people of color, but there aren't enough of us working on this field. And one of the problems that we're talking about police killing us. We're talking about everything that the system has done against us. But the things that we're not talking about is how we're affecting each other while we're affecting each other, and the things that we can do to change the mindset that pushes us to affect each other. And when I say affect, I mean sell drugs to one another, shoot and kill one another, or wanting to harm one another. And in some cases, some of those reasons in those people's minds are justified. And I understand that because I was one of those people at some point. If that makes sense. So with all I said, I'm gonna say the same thing that we said to the last girl. Dave, can you jump in right here and we do an information grab?
Yeah, I got you. I'll shoot your email address over to him.
Yeah, this is one where connecting with me and Dave, or connect with me and I'll plug you into Dave. But personally, no, literally I've spent my older brother, his name is Reggie, we call him Cheese. I spent a couple days trying to figure out who's the right prison attorney to help with this situation, because he's a very strong-minded person, and he's the type of dude who he got 3 years left. He'll give them hell and get more hell trying to break a system that he can't break because he's in prison. But I know my brother, he's stubborn enough to try to tear the whole motherfucker down to get what he think is right.
No, for sure. We'll connect. And I mean, like, you know, I have a strong network out there, and you know, I know someone who's going to be able to help with that. And yeah, we'll definitely talk about you know, how we can change the perspective and try to open up doors. And I have a bunch of things that I'm working on with the NAACP and the ACLU and stuff like that we're trying to get off the ground. But I think, you know, exposure is a big part of that, and being able to tell our stories, but then not feeling helpless, that we can, you know, and after that there's an action point that, yo, I can work on the cases of my people, you know. And that's where I came from, being a kid in London of Jamaican parents who was in front of a judge, and then found myself with an opportunity to be, you know, representing folks like me who are, you know, who are caught up in the wrong kind of stuff.
Somebody on our team literally just spoke on this 2 days ago on our call. I don't want to just throw names out, but I can say Chris's first name without saying his last. But he passionately spoke on this for at least 15 minutes on a call the other day. So the timing of this couldn't be any better. I appreciate you standing up to invest your time, because it's not early there. So I appreciate it.
Well, I think it's like you guys were saying, right, about when you got an idea, you got to you got to do what it takes to speak to people or keep the elevator door open to keep people talking, so, sometimes that's late at night, sometimes that's early in the morning,
Well, I appreciate your passion, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you, bro.
No problem. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you so
Please
much.
send me an email over ASAP, and
I will.
I'll send you over my cell phone number too. I would love to get on a call tomorrow.
Yes, for sure. All right. No problem.
All right. It's crazy the things that the platform gives, and the issue that I haven't even mentioned to many people that I've been working on and been stressing my brother out, my younger brother about my older brother, and this jumps out of free game. I love this is what networking and community is about.
Definitely. All right, the next question is going to be Stefan Studios. He's got a real specific product question.
So I have a product. It's a bag that I produce. It's a utility bag, and it converts into before.
Bro, I think you may be on two platforms.
Like the streetwear industry.
Oh, there you go.
Number one, I was wondering, do I need to patent this design? Number two is, how can I grow the demand and let people know that like this is something that's never like been put out before? And correct me if I'm wrong if it has been put out before, if you guys have seen a bag like it or heard of a bag like it.
Sharifa and the foundation team, I think for patents, and I have a POV, but these guys handle product every day and new product every day, and different kinds of product every day. Ari's smiling, so I think he got something to say. Ari might be able to get you some money too, bro. He got it. Go for it.
What is the product?
It's a utility bag.
So like a patent is, we did it once. We patented one product, and it's an expensive and long endeavor, right? So, and I don't, Dre, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't patent it prior to going to sell it, right?
Now we applied for it, and then we went to market with it. So usually when you apply for a patent, it'll be under consideration while you're going into market.
But if you're in market, that's the same as like someone coming and trying to swoop it from you. As long as you've had like market establishment, that gives you a jump on someone trying to like take it and go behind your back and do it.
It does, but what you really need to do, if it's, when you start, good legal is very important. It is one thing that I firmly believe in, right? And if you have something that you want to put out, and you should always look to trademark and patent whatever you're going to put out to protect it, right? And obviously some of these things can become more expensive, but at least the initial search, the initial part of it, isn't that expensive. The patent process can become more expensive the longer that you go, but you should seek legal help for that, especially when it comes to patents, because that's more complex than trademarks. The trademark process is a simpler process. The patent process is more complicated.
But it doesn't have to stop you from like starting the process and getting product in market. I mean, you can do the two simultaneously.
Yeah, the product is already in market, and locally the demand is high, and like my consumers who've like been with me since I started the brand, they're receiving it pretty well. But I was, again wondering, how can I grow the demand?
Wait. So if we back up a second, so you said the product's in the market, but you're saying it's something that you want to patent. So is there something unique about what you designed that is unlike anything else that's out in the market where you need a patent to protect that? Or are you speaking more from the idea that you're just looking to trademark, to protect the name or your brand?
No, I've already trademarked the brand to actually patent the design of the products. Like I said, it's a bag that converts into a fanny pack, crossbody bag, shoulder bag, and a chest rig.
Okay. So a convertible bags. So then even when you go into getting a design patent, yeah, I would tell you, man, when you start, because see, this is what makes getting patents so complicated. There's design patents, there's trade dress patents, there's all different kinds of patents, and it can be complex to navigate through. You definitely need to get you an attorney to
I would
go
also like do some more research, because like I can think of a bag that has been in market that does everything you're saying. Sounds duffel.
I was about to say the same thing. I was going to say do the research and look up different bag companies. And if you want, you can hit me on the side as well. And I will definitely, help you, because there's a lot of bags with what you just described. I've seen a couple of them. So I just want to make sure that you're not wasting time and money. You can still do your bag and it can still sell, but to waste money on patent.
Yeah, if you can't patent it. Yeah, exactly right. Like you already have a trademark brand and you have a trademark product. It may be something that you can't patent.
And it's okay though. I think your product
Right.
can sell itself as long as it's great product.
Right.
Yeah, patent isn't important in the case. That's where marketing steps in, which is the second part of your question, right? Because I think the second part of your question is how could you get visibility for the brand? I think that's very different than patenting, because I think I tell our team all the time, it's not who does it first, it's who does it better, if that makes sense. And if your product isn't connecting to the consumer the right way, the patent won't protect you if somebody just comes in and does something a little different but much better, if that makes sense. So I think if Hutch, you want to jump in and talk about the getting ads on it some?
Well, I think it goes back to what all of these young people and even older folks are doing now. We got all of these free platforms, and I think he's starting out the right way, which is a local message, and I think that's starting to mean a lot more now. Being able to create something in your own backyard, in your own community, and if you do that well enough, eyes are going to get on it automatically. But utilize the free platforms, utilize your networking team, because you always going to know somebody who knows somebody, and you can use that for seeding your product. You can use that to getting more ideas coming towards your way, or how to help push your product forward. And but starting locally, I think it's a great thing, and you'll be amazed the things that you can accomplish like that.
Okay. You guys spoke earlier a little bit on like meeting your consumer in terms of how to like educate them, like meeting them where they're at. And so I was wondering, would like a space to educate my consumers help? Like, for example, be a storefront.
Yes, but you also, if you have the ability to be completely vertical with the brand and be able to go from creation to retail, that's always a plus, right? Because local, to Hutch's point, local is the new global, right? So if you can connect in your local communities and you can make it impactful in your local communities, that can be the scale that you need to get going, and that could help build visibility globally, right? So if you have the ability to do pop-ups or work with local retailers, or even go in and do trunk shows with local retailers in and around your city, then absolutely, those are all things that can help you build the brand. Creating good social messaging, making sure that the consumer understands your brand, what it means and why, and why is the bag convertible? Like what was going through your head? What's the functionality around it? So answering all those questions to the consumer so they understand it and get it quick enough that they understand it and can repeat it to someone else. That's what's going to help get you there. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've been following pretty much everything you guys are saying. I definitely love to see if what other bags are like mine, because the research I didn't find anything. But if I have competition, I definitely want to know about it.
Where are you located?
Dallas, Texas, and they're actually my bags are in the Galleria Mall out here. but I would.
Which store?
PCH. Please come home, Los Angeles.
All right, so send me buying at the Whitaker Group, BUYING at the Whitaker GRP. Send me a PDF of your bags. If they're good, we'll buy them. We'll put them at retail.
Yes, sir. And if I could also get Envision's email as well.
It's Sharifa at Liberty Fairs. I'll put it in the chat.
Great.
Yeah, and we'll add buying too. If that's the other part, right? Having the right distribution channels within the US and globally will get you there, right? So that also helps get you eyes on, helps get eyes on your brand. Dave, can you I guess, is it mine's going to Dave or going to everybody?
Hey,
it's going to everybody. It's opened up now. I sent it to him already though.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry, go ahead, pal.
One thing, your competition is not just convertible bag companies. It's other bag companies out there as well. So, I mean, I think that you should do your research on what's the minimum value proposition that you're bringing with your product, and is it going to be along like look at your price point, what you're offering, and try to see if that actually makes sense for your target customer that you're going at. And also ask yourself, do you really know your target customer?
Gotcha.
And is one thing that we tend to say on our side of the business, and this is going back to whether you should get a patent, and to Sharifa's point, whether somebody has another similar product or whatever. I mean, we have a mutual friend, some of us, Mr. Ruben Campos, and he says that there's only one designer in the world that's ever existed, and nobody's ever met him. And what that means is, no matter if people can put a patent on certain things, right? I think James went into this. There would only be one burger company. So when McDonald's started, there wouldn't have been a Burger King, a Wendy's, a Hardee's, a Whataburger, or whatever we're eating these days. But at the end of the day, it's how you market yourself and the share of that market you get. And if you can accomplish that, patents don't matter so much.
Got it.
I would say let your business pay for your patent. You don't pay for it. They're very expensive.
Yeah, I've researched a little bit and seen. That's why I was wondering.
No, thank you, bro. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you, and I hope we answered your question.
Definitely. No, thank you guys. Really.
What else? What we got up next, Dave? Hold on.
Next question is gonna come from Darren Smith.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep. What's up, bro?
Not much. How y'all doing?
Good,
man. How you?
Good. First and foremost, just want to say thank you guys. So much for putting this on, man. Shout out to Cassidy. One time, she put me on the Be Social. James, I knew about you a while back, but I didn't know about this Be Social platform, so I appreciate it. You talked about needing more Black entrepreneurs, and that's when I started hitting up Dave like crazy. I sent him like 5 messages saying, "Put me in, coach." So I'm the co-founder of a Black-owned tech startup called Trade Block, and it's a gamified sneaker trading marketplace. So think of StockX and GOAT, but instead of
I read your email already, bro. Keep going though.
Okay, so I have to hit you up. So think of StockX and GOAT, but instead of trading your kicks for cash, you can trade your kicks for kicks. And so right now, there's no digital platform right now for sneakerheads to be able to engage in that barter experience. And so this is really a pitch to everybody on the call, because for potential customers and then also potential investors, James, you in particular. And so the question is really what we've run into in terms of like raising funds is not necessarily raising the funds themselves, but most of the people wanting to back us are white males. They get the idea we pitch, is easy for them to get it, and they know that the majority of wealth in America is accumulated through private equity. Like the companies the companies that you see on the stock market, when you start investing, unless you're a day trader, it's pretty much too late for you to cash in a big way. Where these cats get their bread is they find us early on and invest their money early, and so then they get out once we go public. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of get your advice or your perspective on diversity in the private equity realm, and then also hopefully getting a conversation with you to pitch and put for a potential investment.
No, so I was going to reply to your email after free game. We could definitely do a pitch. Probably mid next week. I would love to get on to hear more about it. I think the idea of barter is genius right now, especially around sneakers, in creating a social platform around that. And you're absolutely right. I think you led the witness already. Like most wealth is acquired in private equity investing, and either investing with dollars or time. And that's something that in our space, in the Black community, most people aren't aware of, because unfortunately there isn't tons of dollars in our community that way. And I think we spoke about it earlier in the conversation. This is one of the reasons that when I said, when you take a bunch, we go back to the graphic artist thing, right? You take 50 graphic artists who can't make it on their own. If those 50 people get together, create a unified voice, get to market to raise some capital to get their idea and grow it, those 50 people could in turn make Nike, if that makes sense. So that's I mean, I'm just repeating what you said already. I appreciate you shooting me the information in advance. I'm gonna take a second now to hit you with my cell phone number on your email, so we can just set up time to talk next week. Anybody else want to jump in?
I have a question. So, I just looked at your website. So the way that it works is it's trading. So it's barter.
Yep.
All right. So when people barter, you list the shoes. Can you just explain how it operates?
Yeah, so if I can give y'all some context, when we started our Instagram page last year, we started it just to bring awareness to what we were doing, like kind of build up our following. And then we decided to kind of test the idea or this assumption, hey, we know that people are buying and selling online, but are they willing to trade? Because we were going to sneaker cons all the time, and we know, we see it and we've traded ourselves. And so the question then became like, are people willing to do this digitally? And so before we got the app in development, we wanted to test it out. And so with our Instagram page, we did a giveaway in San Jose, California, and was like, hey, DM us 3 to 5 shoes that you're looking to trade, or that you're willing to trade. And then we had about 300 people respond to that DM to enter the giveaway. And then we responded to all 300 and said, hey, thanks for entering. Send us 3 to 5 shoes that you're looking for. And so that was the birth of our database, where we had now hundreds of shoes that people had in their closet, and then hundreds of shoes that people were looking for. And we do that in a spreadsheet, and then start connecting the dots. And so how it works, to answer your question, is you let us know what you have in your collection that you're willing to trade, and then we find somebody that has what you want and wants what you have, and then we facilitate that trade for you.
What's your commerce model?
So we don't base it on price. So on the app, all you see is a shoe. And so when you start to engage with the other user to propose a trade, it's pretty much based on your personal value. And then you can counter and everything. So the business model, we charge $40 per trader. Okay. And then roughly about $12 to $14 of that goes to shipping right now. And then a small portion goes to our authentication costs. And we have a network of authenticators across the country that we leverage to do that. And so
that's what I needed to know. What you just explained right there.
My mind is going like this right now.
Yeah.
So the other part that he's not thinking about is the sustainability portion of this. By trading shoes, old and new, not just high heat. When you start thinking about the lower end of the tier, the sub collectibles, but for people,
you can do no box worn shoes, like
sustainability
concept is brilliant.
Yes, the sustainability part, he hasn't even got there yet. That's like, I already text you my cell phone number.
Okay.
If that's your cell, I text
that's
you
my cell in the email. Got it.
I think you got to go in the women's realm, because women is quicker to trade and swap anything.
Yes.
Before
Cassidy. I'm going to send you guys an article that Cassidy wrote up on us with C&K Daily, speaking to that exact thing. And we believe in diversity. So our whole founding team is 3 of us, young black males trying to change the game. And we know have to be intentional about diversity, and it doesn't just happen. And we believe in women empowerment, and you guys are just dope. And so you have a chip on your shoulder, and we really wanted to like cater to you guys in that regard. So I'll send you that article as well. Cassidy did a great job.
Darren, can you hit me on the chat with your email as well?
Yes, sir.
And I'll forward this email to the group too. Here. Yeah. Cause I think I gave you a better one. I'll invite this whole panel to our discussion next week. So when you set up time, you won't just set up time with me. You'll set up time with the whole panel, so everybody get a chance to hear you out. Because I think you might have just got all of our money.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Shark Tank. And
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Yeah, I just hit you for an
Shark Tank.
Okay. I'm gonna look out for all of those emails, and we'll set that up.
Just text me back, and I'll get it. Text me back as a host. We're on text, so
okay.
We can just go back and forth and set up a time next week.
On it now. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Dave, let Frankie baby in. We got a guest in. Frank been in here hiding.
Ooh.
I was sending you the message at the same time, but he had me like this. This from the sustainability part to the women's part. Like, man.
It's a dope idea.
Super dope idea. What's up, bro? How are you?
Mr. Cooker, how you doing, sir?
My name New York, man.
Man, no. Your new name is Co, because you look like half of yourself right now.
Man, yeah. Blessings, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, man, this whole journey's been it's been great, man. It's been different. It's been good, man, and yeah, man, it's been some great questions and responses, and this has been a awesome 2 hours for sure.
All right, well, stay on the panel and throw your insight in, man. Dave,
yes, sir.
Dave, who we got up next?
Kyle Vance is up next.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
How's everyone doing today? Sorry about that. I was running up and down the stairs.
All good.
All right. So I'm not really trying to sell anything or promote anything. I just had some advice, and I've talked to James Whitner before. He's gave me some great advice about being a student or whatever it is he's trying to pursue. I've held on to that, and it's carried me so far. I'm currently active duty military right now, so I'm in Hawaii, so it's kind of early out here. It's bright outside, but the question that I have is, what would you guys, what type of guidance would you have for someone who's trying to like get in the game through necessarily like the supply side, like the supply chain management side? Because I know, the digital marketing game is very like it's going on right now, and it's a hot market, but I don't really see too much about the supply side of things. And I just wanted to just get y'all input and advice on that. Like, how do you excel in that field?
I think Sharifa, you wanna jump in?
Well, wait, what field are you trying to get into? Just specific.
So the procurement side. Procurement.
Yeah, I didn't go to school that much, bro.
I think he means like from a military sense, or are you thinking of like contracts to be able to like facilitate businesses as an intermediary,
or you talking about uniforms and like?
So
basically, give us layman term.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that, y'all.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. So basically, like the logistics, maybe All right, I'm
talking about how to. You talking about? Are you asking how do you get into the warehousing and supply chain side of the sneaker and fashion industry?
Yes, that's.
So he's talking about how does he become CJ?
All right, there you go, Dre. You can have this with you.
I'm about to say that's a Dre question, but I do want to say thank you for your service, bro. But
you beat me to it, Hutch.
No, we definitely appreciate you. We definitely appreciate your service, bro.
do it for you guys. We do it for you guys. Trust me.
You at?
I'm in Oahu, so that's the man. Really, it's I love it. I'm out here for another few years. I'm always coming and going. So like when I sent that message to James, I was in Japan. So
I grew up in Oahu on the Army base, so I guarantee it's the same one.
Wait, one quick question. What is your rate?
I'm a culinary specialist, and I'm currently enlisted, but one of my career goals is to retire a supply officer, basically.
Okay, so you're gonna switch your rate and do something.
Oh no, not necessarily switch my rate. It's just I will try to go to the officer ranks, not the I don't want to stay in the enlisted ranks forever. So the officer ranks, you do more.
No, I'm familiar. I'm prior Navy.
So, you know what I'm talking about.
But let me ask you this: so, how are you planning to do that? You're gonna go through like one of their programs, or you're gonna try to rise and be chief and all of that stuff?
So, program that I'm gonna try to go to is the LDO program.
Okay.
So I've only been in a few years, but like I've already crossed off most of the marks. Like you have to be be an E6. I'm an E5. I got that ASAP. And then good. You have to, and you got to be in 8 years. I've only been in 5, so I got some time. But
no, that's good. The reason why I was asking that is the Navy has great education, and if you could get just my 2 cents on it, but if you can get them to train you, I think that your transition is going to be way easier. Way easier, because they're not only going to give you education, but you already know you're going to get hella experience, and you're going to run a shop underneath you. So you're going to have, and being an officer, you're going to have a bunch of enlisted people ranging from master chiefs on down that are going to be responsible to you. They're going to report to you. You're going to direct them. So you're going to have all of this knowledge that when you want to make this transition back into civilian life, you're going to be able to utilize that. So I think that course that you're doing is very good. But, and I mean, Lord willing, you're gonna become an officer. You're gonna be able to switch and do all that stuff. But if you don't, ask yourself this: if you're willing to try to switch your rate, if this is what you really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just if it doesn't happen, as far as becoming an officer, if that's really what you want to do.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time out to explain that to me. And I've thought about that too. I feel like, what I'm doing right now is it's giving me the basic fundamentals, but it's just like, it lit that fire in me. So now it's like, I kind of want to learn.
Well, you're working,
be a student.
Yeah, but you're working for one of the largest organizations in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember that. Like, you're working for the Navy. It's one of the biggest companies that you could work for. So let them train you, let them teach you, but don't let me hold up other people from answering, because they can tell you directly of what goes on this side. I
don't want to take up too much time.
I was just talking about the transition of going from military into civilian life.
I needed that, but thank you.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is interesting that you asked about the ops side, because when you think about fashion, that's always the non-glamorous part of the business, but it's very important, because actually it's damn near the most important part, because we got to can tell you how many brands out here, how many companies, and if they can't operate, they're out of business. So I mean, there's always opportunities in the ops field. I think you being in the Navy provides you some advantages, because people go to school, let's say they go get degrees in supply chain management, but even when you learn supply chain management in in a university, really until it's applied and until you're working in it, you're just a smart guy that studied it in school.
Yeah,
is because our COO is actually my younger brother. He's a year younger than me for the foundation. And I don't say this because he's my brother, but he is pound for pound the best logistics operation dude I've ever met in my whole history of being in this business. Maybe one of our mentors, Mike Shockett. But that's how sharp he is. But he became sharp like that from being in the field and learning. And really, the only thing that he was missing was he went to school. He did go to college, and he dropped out of college. And then he was working in the field. And early on in his career, he had excelled at such a fast rate that he was at a point where he couldn't, where let's say if he wanted to be a COO, right? You know, somebody would come in that had the education, they might leapfrog him. But at a certain point, he got to the point where he can't be leapfrogged because his experience and his resume, even somebody with the, let's say if they had the degree isn't going to trump the experience. So I think, you know, to go back to what Pell was talking about, with you being in the military and the Navy and people that really understand operations and supply chain, that's invaluable. I mean, I think that's actually more valuable than going and getting the degree from college. So I think you put yourself in a good position. It depends on where you want to go and what you want to do. You know, you have all these 3PLs, you have all these large structured corporate companies that have these large internal supply chains. You know, it depends on how you want to attack it, right? Obviously, there's some opportunity when you start to look at companies like ours, where we're independent. I mean, we're a decent sized company, but we're independent. Sometimes there's more opportunity in companies like ours, right?
Right.
And there are in traditional corporate supply chain. And not to say you can't work your way up and grow. It's just, you know, sometimes you get to leap out and make yourself even more valuable so you can climb the ladder in the companies that aren't so big, because you get to learn so much more about how the company operates. Because what we find a lot of time in like ops positions is you'll have people that come in and quite honestly, they don't know how to do their job. It's kind of weird, you know, and part of that is because when people go in, they, you know, the way the system is set up, like they'll learn one department and maybe they'll become really good at that department. But if your goal is to manage or to be at executive level, you really need to learn multiple departments. You really need to learn it all, because that's what'll make you invaluable. And, you know, we've been through it several times, like just working with, let's say, apparel brands, where we've had brands that they might have worked with the company we work with, and then they decide to take their logistics in-house. So then they have to go and build it from scratch. Well, what ends up happening a lot of times with those situations is they don't know how to build it. It's much easier to plug somebody into a system that already exists. It's much harder to find people that can build the system.
Yep.
So what I would say to you, think about it that way. You want to learn how to be a person that can build the system. If you can build the system, sky's the limit. Yeah, I mean, you'll run circles around it. And that's what my brother can do. He can build the system.
Okay.
And there are very few people out there that can do that. That's what you want to be able to do. And that should be your approach to supply chain, logistics, ops. Learn how to be able to build the system.
Okay. I really appreciate you telling me that. I really do. Thank you so much for y'all time.
No, thank you, bro.
No problem.
And congratulations, and thank you again for the service.
No problem. No problem. Everybody take it easy.
Be safe.
No doubt. No doubt.
Everybody's familiar with Who's Next. She always finds a way to weasel her way in here with a really good question.
That must be Chantel.
Usual suspects.
You doggone right. Hey, y'all.
I'm about to stop taking your questions. They're going to think I'm playing favorites over here, man. But the questions just be so good. I'm like, we got to get there. We got to, you know.
Because I be thinking. Kyle's voice, by the way, I loved your voice, Kyle. So laid back. So yeah, my mind is everywhere. But if we have time, would love for each person on the panel to answer this. But in light of the current climate, in terms of the protesting, Brother Floyd, Breonna, Ahmaud, all those things, how have each of you been challenged or encouraged to engage on a personal level? So we know kind of where you are. If anyone follows any of you, we kind of see what you're doing company-wise, but just kind of how have you been challenged to engage on a personal level? And then, so that's the one question. And then if you can also answer to, I think we kind of touched on it a bit with Isaac in terms of not pimping the culture and kind of capitalizing off of certain things. So I want to know how you compartmentalize so you aren't running behind the throng as business owners, running behind the throng and picking up things that you shouldn't touch in terms of how you do your brand, how you do retailing, how you do business, especially if you're a person of color and or an ally. It can hit you in a certain way where you feel like you want to just do, but then it's too much. So how do you keep from doing that?
You throwing one good question after another good question. We're over here.
I told y'all.
You about to hit us with the. I feel like I'm in the CNN hot seat.
I couldn't even skip it, bro. I was like,
from the presidential campaign.
You are. So just answer the first one, then I'll ask it again, the second portion.
The first one.
Sharif,
So the first one is, how have you been challenged or encouraged to engage in the current climate personally?
Personally,
not business. Personally,
personally, I'll say to go personally. I have been. I don't like to think I do a lot of media, but since everything has started to heat up, I've personally leveraged my voice and my personal relationships with people in people that can move bigger places. Right. So I've invested my time, my personal time, in helping a lot of organizations get to where they need to go to properly do right by our people, if that makes sense. And on the other side of it, to use my voice to help try to empower others. That's what I've been doing.
I think echo James as well. For me, I had to kind of step back from it for a minute just because it's a very sensitive subject. And our counterparts are not Black, so we need to make sure that you're moving in the right way and you're making sure that you're expressing yourself in a way where they understand. It was being able to use my voice, but also being more actionable. I've been able to. I am now able to make more changes in certain areas of things that I didn't agree with within a company standpoint, within our company family. So it's an interesting time where I think it's important for anyone that has a platform to use their voice and to just speak out, and also to educate the youth, right? I think at the end of the day, it is also about the youth culture, and they're leading the charge on this. And it's about having those conversations and to continue having those conversations with people that are unaware of the things that are happening around them, or pretending as if they are unaware of the things that are happening around them.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go next. What's interesting is when you say personal and business, and I think I can speak for some of the other people that are on this panel. So much of our personal lives are in this business. Like, that's the thing about this industry. These are our friends, right? So I would say that, business and personal starts to get great at certain points, but, there's been a lot of tough conversations and having them often. And some of them are with people we do business with who are friends, and just trying to, because there is a moment when people are waking up and conversation and dialogue is good. So being willing to have those conversations and I'm thankful that other people are willing to have them as well and are being open-minded. But also one of the things that I felt like I had to learn early on in this too, because I was quiet at the beginning, even with our company, we're a equally minority-owned company, right? And so many things that we do with our company, like we have the representation. It's at the top. We have the representation all through the company. We looked at things like the fact that we feel like people, because of the representation that's there, obviously everybody's voice is heard, but then, you may have other young people of color who want to come and work at this company because they see the faces that are there. It's like, that's why representation is so important. So we go and we have those conversations, and then having separate conversation with our friends and people that, you know, and genuinely, I would say our friends, some of them are acquaintances, and just trying to be understanding and not, you know, one of the things is, and I can say this as a Black man, you know, been living with this shit for 43 years, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, sometimes, you know, I could say, even in my own arrogance, you know, I tell y'all, people that know me, I can be a little insensitive. I'll say that. Like, I'm one of those people that is like tunnel vision. I'm just on my way, right? But also at the same time, knowing that I need to step back and see that there's other people that are in pain too, right? And, you know, and there's some people out there that all of a sudden they woke up today and they ain't know how fucked up the world is. And really, we've been having some of those conversations where, and for me, for a second, I was like, man, what's their problem? Then I had to step back, and you know, you had COVID going on, and then you had George Floyd, and you got this whole generation of people that had the two biggest things that could happen in their life happen back to back. And you know, you start to think about mental health and how that has an effect on people. You know, like one of the things I did is I had a group of my boys from college. I got us all together just so we can have a call as young Black men or Black fathers, whatever it may be, and talk about how we feel, right? Because we had conversations. We had a company conversation where we had everybody in the company get on a Zoom call for 4 hours and express how they felt, and it was a beautiful thing. And everybody was relieved, and you know, learned a lot about people, and then it was really dope. But then I ended up on another call on the same day. So literally, I was on the phone for like 8 hours that day. The call that I had after was a separate call, but it was all Black professionals that were on it. That conversation was a different conversation because as us as Black men on it, there were different things that we spoke about that we may not have spoke about on the other call. And what I got from having that one call, and Brother Pell put that together, by the way, but what I got from having that call was I saw how therapeutic it was. So then I chose to go and do the same thing with the group of my friends I went to college with. We all communicated, we're on a group text together. So 10 or 12 of us got together and we had a conversation because it was like a session for us to all talk about how we feel. Because you know, we all are dealing with things in different ways, but in our business, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur and I have my partners. My other friend, he worked for the government in DC. You know, I got another friend that works for this company, you know, so people are dealing with things in their internal business. You know, mental health is real. And I just think, it's particularly in the Black community, you know, we haven't always dealt with mental health the way that we should. And it was just something that really came up to my mind, that people need to be able to deal with the mental part of this. Because, you know, we always talk like, shrug it off, don't worry about it, no medication, don't go to the doctor. But, you know, sometimes people need to talk through it. And I think that's been the part. It's been like mentally draining. I mean, it hasn't been as crazy now, but I imagine, you know, some other people could talk about it. You know, you were having conversations every single day. And it was from the time you got up until the time you went to bed. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's taxing. It mentally drains you. But, you know, that's what I was doing. So I've been talking a lot, just like I'm doing right now. A whole lot of talking.
It's good. I'm interested to hear what it's been like for you, Ari.
Listen, I have a benefit that's probably different than most people that have the same skin color as me. And that's like half of the people that I'm closest with in my life are Black.
Yeah.
Like 2 of my business partners are Black and we're like brothers. So I'm able to ask questions and say things and be exposed to things in a completely non-judgmental, open environment where I don't have to worry or feel weird or feel like shit, Howard Dre Hutch or James or Sharif or any of them going to take me asking this or questioning this. And I've had a lot of exposure. But what this taught me personally, and what I've tried to do is like, even if you're a white guy and you're woke and you're educated and you're around, there's so much shit that I was unaware of you know, I didn't know who the fuck Nat Turner was until like all these events started to happen. There's books that Pell hit me to and introduced me to that I read. There's just friends of mine from college and high school and life that I've talked to that I'm just shocked at the complete lack of awareness, or people, friends of mine that I consider aware and woke and hip to what is going on, calling me, asking me questions, or utilizing me as like a bridge between themselves and the Black community, because like they know what my relationships are like, to vet their questions or vet their feelings. And it was eye-opening to me, to be quite honest with you, because I'm talking about people, you know, within our industry, within super multicultural companies that I was shocked to get calls from. And all I've really tried to do, I mean, if you follow me on the gram and all that, like I'm not out there like promoting or doing any of that shit to like fly my flag of wokeness. I'm out there to get people that may be completely ignorant, either consciously or unconsciously, to maybe hit a link and read an article and have a look. You know, I have, you know, some people very close to me that, you know, are Trump supporters and like can't articulate to me as to why. Actually, one of my best friends just converted last week and finally had a fuck enough. It's like my shining star, my gold medal of the year. So really for me, it's just been conversation. I've been talking to as many people as possible, both like white friends, Black friends, Asian friends, regardless, like age demographic, regardless, really just trying to have conversations with people, and not in an attacking way if they disagree with me, but really trying to understand how they could think that way, and maybe trying to give them a little bit to see how maybe what they thought doesn't align with what's really happening.
Yeah. I think it's important to hear from this group in particular, because one of the things that I've learned just in a short time from you with you all is how authentic and genuine you are, and especially in your particular field. And someone mentioned earlier in the chat as it was blowing up, like that we as in African Americans, Black folk, we have to be consistent and precise and kind of laser focused with our messaging. And my response to that is, I believe that there is a consistency in the messaging and whatnot, but it gets lost in the fray, it gets lost in yellow journalism and sensationalism and kind of people throwing out things just to throw out things. And I feel like voices like you all's need to be continued to be heard, especially those who reach across the table and have cross-cultural relationships. They're not trying to be someone else. Like, you're not trying to be Black. You're not a Black man. That's not your MO. But you do listen to those that are around you, and you have conversations and things like that. So that's why I did that on purpose on here, so that in all of its authenticity, people can hear how y'all are literally dealing with this in your personal lives, how you've been challenged, and what the heck you're doing with it. Then the second part to that is, how do you as businessmen and women discern what to jump on in terms of, and not that you're capitalizing off of it, but you are running a business, and you would be completely callous not to say certain things on your platform or do certain things. Like, you have to kind of speak into it a little bit, especially considering your audience. But how do you all as entrepreneurs, as businessmen and women, keep from running behind the train and just kind of jumping on something? You understand what I'm saying?
I wanna dial back to your first question, because I wanted to speak to that. And it's something that you wrote into the chat about PTSD being, you know, post-traumatic slave disorder. And I there's a psychologist, I forget her name, that actually
Joy Leary DeGrew.
Spoke to that. And I had sleepless nights off of all of this stuff that was going on. With and, you know, we're going through COVID, and then you have the unfortunate murder of Mr. Floyd, you know. And when you have a kid and you're a Black man and you come to the realization that you cannot protect your family, that's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had conversation, and I can't take full credit of the conversation that Dre spoke about. That was also Antonio from Downtown Locker Room. He just wanted to get a group of us together because there's a sense of hopelessness no matter how healthy your wallet is. It does not matter how much money you have. You're like, I've been held at gunpoint by police. You know, I've been held on the side. My rights have been violated on, you know, wanting to check through my car and whatever. And one, I wasn't educated at the time, but two, it's just taking advantage of a person, and you're by yourself with armed people around you. So the things that I'm doing, one is having conversation, whether they're on a micro or a macro level, talking to people one-on-one. Like Ariana and we've had a straight talk that he allowed me to put on my Instagram, IG, just two dudes talking about it. And not to say that he's representing the white race. I'm not representing the black race, but we know that we're different, and we're having this conversation. Had the same thing with one of my old bosses, but not to get too long-winded on it, you know, I do art. My thing is, like Nina Simone said, it's the artist's responsibility for us to document the times.
Yeah.
So I'm doing art. I'm working on something. I'm going to put out, try to get it. You know, these guys ain't giving me no damn free time, but that's what I'm doing. My thing is to challenge people to have conversation, because with art, the first conversation and communication that you have to have is with yourself, of whether or not why you hate it, why you like it, why does it speak to you? Because I can't have conversation with every single person that's out there. But my biggest thing is having conversation, white, black, this, that, and the third, or whatever, through any type of medium that I have.
I'll jump in real fast after that, because for me, I got this whole I still, in my mind, I'm still piss pouring in the projects in my mind, right? I don't think that's my PTSD. If you know me, you know I still fight the fight like I ain't got shit, right? So
your mind is lying to you, brother.
so in my mind, right? It's always a struggle, and I'm comfortable. I live comfortably with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's also ingrained in me to just fight, if that makes sense. And I'm comfortable with the fight, and I expect to fight, because to Dre's earlier point, I've been piss poor from the projects, homeless, only food on the 1st and 15th pour my whole fucking life, right? So for me, it's about that. Now on the other part of it, how you know to Dre's earlier point about business and personal being a gray area, my business is my life. I have the luxury of being blessed enough to take everything that I love and pour it into my business, my heart, my soul, everything. Outside of my family, everything else is in this business. So before George Floyd, before cops got killed, I got friends that got killed by the police. The police, the neighborhood I grew up in is probably Googleable. They couldn't drive in our neighborhood in 93 and 92. They put a booth in our neighborhood so the police can make it through our neighborhood, because it was just the way that they carried us. So there was a way that we carried them, and we policed ourselves, right? So for me, it's really about building those things into our company. So the conversation around race was super prevalent for me, because I show up as the only black person in the room in most rooms I walk in. So it was already a conversation. So I'm already not kind of know what landmines. It's not business for me. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna take this dollar, not taking this dollar. My blackness is not for sale, ever, never, ever, ever.
Oh, that's right.
I have to connect with things, and they got to connect to who we are. And if I can't authentically connect to it, money ain't no good for me.
Well, the first thing I did was I went out and I beat up 2 crooked cops. I'm just kidding. But I mean, look, beyond all the conversation, right? I mean, I even went back and started to re-educate myself on things, right? Because you're having all these conversations. But I think for me, you know, being younger than most of these guys, but still old.
Yeah, all right.
I like that shit.
I learned so much about young people and how social media really affects them. And I'm a person, I don't like social media. I'm on the call as bruh, and I don't like people knowing who I am. I'm a work behind the scenes kind of guy.
Thanks,
But,
Antoine Freeman.
Shut up. So, but people are really passionate about posting things, and that like meaning so much to them. And it took me, and I still don't get it. I'm more of an actions person, but those things mean a lot to these young people. And I had to like really get to understand that. And, you know, and appreciate it, right? Because what you realize is, you know, it's so many ways to fight the same fight. And everybody's not fighting the way you're gonna fight. And it's so many angles to take. And I'm watching people fighting each other for the angle that they're taking, but the goal is still the same. So it was interesting to watch that whole dynamic play out. And I think the one thing that I've always known, and obviously we can easily get caught up in outer appearances, right? And the one thing I said that you know that I kept repeating was all of your allies don't look like you. You know, it's not always about like skin, it's about like minds. And no matter what struggle it's been, and you can go back in history and look at all of it, it hadn't been all one person.
That's right.
So we got to be careful about who we connect with and who we align ourselves with. And you'll be surprised about who wants to align with you. And it doesn't mean that you forget your own, but sometimes you realize that the path you're trying to go on and what you're trying to do, if you're successful at this, we can come back for them. People realize things in their own time. So we don't always have to beat them or kill them for it. But what we need to do is, I'll be back for you. And when we get to where we need to go, they'll appreciate it. So be careful with the outer appearances, because again, all of your allies don't look like you.
Hutch dropping them gems at the
Yeah,
end.
you see that boy, man? Man, you save your best for last. Go,
You know
Hutch.
what I'm saying? You gotta close it out. Look at that.
Come on, brother Hercules, man. Come on, man.
Sharif, I told you I'm the man on the last three games. I told you that.
You're over here doing pre-game push-ups over here, brother Hercules.
For real.
But that's all I had. Thank you.
Got nothing to say.
I see you, brother Hutch.
Mic drop right there.
Yeah, mic drop, man. In your call, man. You can show everybody your nose ring now.
Cut it out.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Remember on the clump, she said, Hercules, Hercules.
Oh, crazy.
All right, man. Last one for the night comes from Jay Riddick. If he's still up here. Yeah, he's still up here.
Jay Riddick.
What's up, y'all? So I appreciate y'all having this first and foremost, and last one. So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. You know, personally, obviously, I know that James, you've been a big integral part in speaking to the culture and speaking for representation. I think that's key. I've been in a corporate field for about 10 years in sales. So just transition into getting to where my passion is and where my passion lies. I saw Frank on there earlier, connected with him back in the day at Wish, when he was back at Wish. So it's great to have this forum to connect with people, but just understand that, everybody is chasing different dreams and aspirations, and you have to navigate through certain circumstances to get to where you want to go, what's the best way just to transition to get to where we want to go for everybody? And that's in different fields.
I think you talking about unified Black culture.
Yeah, well, again, it's unifying it because we've had to go different routes to get to where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And like for instance, myself, I've been in the corporate world for 10 years doing sales in various industries, but my goal has always been to be in the fashion, be into the culture, but navigating where, you know, the money's at versus like the brother said back in, you know, a few moments ago, you know, taking a step back and, you know, maybe taking a role that you're not suited for financially, but you know, it's going to get you where you need to go. And experience plays a key in that. But when you do have that experience and you want to get back into your passion, just, you know, just identifying things like this, networking is great. And I know that's key because through my development and, you know, my road that I've taken, but, you know, just for other people as well, not personally, but others, just how can they hone in and focus on that?
I could jump if everybody.
And I shot you an email right quick too, just FYI.
Okay. Oh, which one were you?
It said free game, sales, business development.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, I was trying to get them. So I think to Sharifa's earlier point, man, there's a lot of ways to approach it, right? And it's tough because our culture isn't ours unless we take ownership of it, right?
Right. And that's where the representation comes in.
Yes, that's where the representation piece comes in, right? But we have to start to rally around a unified message, right? And unify our voice to be able to get the level of change, transparency, and accountability that we need, right? Like we have to all start to pick each other up as a culture and listen to the people who I can't. Let's use a business example. I can't come into the trade show space and expect to know more than Sharifa after she's done this for so long, right? I need to come in, pay homage to Sharifa, potentially work for her for free, potentially do whatever I need to do to learn, build Sharifa up, right? So then she breaks through doors. I get through doors with her to allow me to get into a space, if that makes sense. And I don't think we're there yet as a culture, right? I don't think people understand the idea of how strong we are together, if that makes sense. So if it's one thing, without me going on a tangent, that I think that we can focus on and do is that. I think we got to recognize like the youthful energy that the youngins got to get out there and protest. That's one part of it, right? But another part of it is the strategic output that it's going to take all that energy and messaging and get change. So once again, I'm just repeating myself. That's collectively what I think is my opinion on the answer. I think we could probably get 100 answers to this question, right? But I know we've had a lot of opportunities we haven't had many opportunities in history, and we live life waiting for opportunities. I know one thing, this is our fucking moment.
Yeah, I take them sometimes.
And that's what I was just about to say. Over my dead body is we gonna let this shit go, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think it's also too getting past a lot of the performative measures and everybody doing a little bit of homework on getting into your civics, getting into your local politics, figuring out those tactile ways that the needle actually is moved, to know how to move the needle. I think we have a lot of kind of performative measures. There's like 40 something states out of the 50 that got Black Lives Matter written on their street. You know what I'm saying? But at what point are we shifting the infrastructure of those cities to make sure that life is taken care of? At what point are we, redoing redlining? At what point, are we fixing our schools? At what point are we doing these different things? And like I said, for me, that always comes with like, what are you most passionate about? What is the people in the community are most passionate about? And then once you have that shared thought process and everybody understands where we're going and what the goals are, now everybody can work in their passion, and you can start to educate, you know, the youth to work in their passion, and you start to build those pipelines. So if I know for me, and this kind of like leans into Chantel's question too, for me, it's been a lot of that. Like I've been trying to get past, you know, get past the murals, get past the, like in Charlotte, they lit up our buildings for Juneteenth. I'm trying to get past all of that.
Right.
Trying to think about like, okay, what does this mean for our city council election, which happens next fall? You know
Or what they're doing with the youth, like you said, to show them a different way to representation, that you don't necessarily have to play the sports or rap or do certain things that you envision to get to your goal, but it can be a different route. And like I said, this is a great forum to show and be able to go back and talk to you. I'm in Jamaica, Queens right now. And, you know, I've lived in Atlanta, went to school in North Carolina, up and down the East Coast, out of Texas. So I've been in a lot of different places and met a lot of different people from various backgrounds, you know. And again, it's the same thing, just how we coalescing them and making sure that we, you know, grab everybody underneath the umbrella and have that unified goal, like James was saying.
I also believe it's about passing the torch, right? And I think that it's about the people that are in position to educate the younger generation and to have them come up underneath them. You know, I'm a firm believer of passing the torch and trying to teach as many people as possible. And right now, like James said, like I am 100% dedicated to making sure that we move past this in a positive way, and we show that we have more of a collaborative spirit going on than competition spirit, because it doesn't make sense for us to do all of this and then all of a sudden we go back to normal. It's just not going to happen. So
and we ain't gonna even own that as normal no more. We're gonna go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
This is how it's gonna be going forward. And to Sharifa's point, we got to pass that. We got to push that forward. And today's point, we got to vote. Everybody. I'm gonna do a shameless plug.
Get educated on it.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the problem. People are like, oh, vote, but they don't know why.
Yeah, but that's why Dave's point is so good, right? Because everyone focuses like macro, like how do we all change and push the system? But like the micro changes, the city council, the alderman, the head of the school board, the mayor, like that affects our everyday lives, affects who gets hired in the police department, affects the funding, affects all those things. And those changes, those elections are won by 500 votes, 300 votes.
Right, 40.
Yeah, I'll say less than that.
For sure. Those small elections, like that's how you change your local audience, your local community, and like James said earlier, local is global. So it's like we don't have to think like, shit, how do we change the country? It's like one community at a time, and then you get a domino effect, and like we can help others, like Sharifa said, like passing the torch. Like you can affect so many people just by looking to your right and your left. You don't have to be talking to 1,000 people. You could change your neighbor's life by giving them a shot.
Right.
And then it changes that household, and then they change their brother's life, and so on and so forth. So sometimes I think we get caught up because there's so much going on. It's like we feel lost in the sauce.
Like where to start.
There's so much needs to change.
We need to start local. And we have a group here called Opportunities for Southeast Queens Millennials, where we're making sure that we're doing that in the politics side and on the economic side. Because again, if you're not bridging the gap, then people are going to get lost.
100%. And sometimes like making it real micro and real focus allows you to have a great effect that can then balloon out after that.
Sure.
Brother, another excellent question. The shameless plug that I was going to put out there is there's an IG account that I've been looking at called Show the Boardroom. And it's a lot of the companies who have made statements, but their boardroom is just filled with people who don't have black faces.
Right.
Check that account out. It's actually been really good on Instagram. It's been showing boardrooms, all the companies that we know, and giving us a better look. Once again, information's power, and transparency allows us to force accountability. So check it out, engage, and let's do our part. And brother, thank you for investing your time with us.
No problem. Thank y'all for having this.
Dave, there's a Dave Perez who said he's been on here all day and been wanting to get his question in. And I think he emailed me too.
All right, we can get him in. I got you.
So yeah, name's Dave. You know, from TDK. It's the barbershop boutique. Got a couple of locations throughout Texas. So I guess I want to talk retail a little bit. And the scaling factor. You know, it's hard to come across, you know, retail businesses with multiple locations. You know, especially in these challenging times. But I really want to dive into it, James. Like, I really want to get some feedback into this, man. Like, one of the issues, I guess, is when scaling is, you know, hiring the proper staff, you know, getting the right staff behind your team and behind your company. So I recently, I hadn't been to Alma Manir in Houston. I recently was out there last week or 2 weeks ago, you know, and you got a pretty cool staff out there, man. You know, so, you know, guys that are definitely in the scene, you know, I've seen them around. I see them at sneaker shows. I see them around. So, like, any tips and tricks, you know, on hiring the right staff? Because I think, especially nowadays, all the cool kids are too cool for themselves. You know what I mean? They all have their own brand. They all want to open their own business, you know, stuff like that. So any tips and tricks on, you know, getting the proper management, the right team? Like, do you have guidelines for them? Do you have, like, checklists, you know, stuff like that? And also, like, do you have sales goals for them? Like, some good incentives, you know, to make them grind and hustle? Like, do they work off commission? Do you recommend putting them on commission? Like, do you have them reach out to artists? Like, do they have artists come through? Like, you know, any tips and tricks, man? Like, also, like, do you got a district manager? I'm
gonna do you one favor, brother. On Monday, we do retail calls with all of our retail, and my retail directors lead it. I'm gonna be on a call this week. I'll let you mute in and listen to one of our meetings with our retail team. I'll tell them you're there. We got a guest in who just wants to learn. It'll be on Monday at some point. Shoot me. I think you just shot me an email. Shoot me another one on Sunday. I'll get you a calendar invite. I'll let you sit on and watch our team so you see how it's done. And then I'll ask them to keep 10 minutes afterwards so you can ask them questions.
Man, beautiful. Man, you're the dopest. For real. I appreciate Free Game, man. Shout out to all you guys.
No,
and
thank
you.
You.
I mean, Dave holds it down for you, man. You know, finding those right staff, man. Like, you got, you know, people on board, you know, so that's why, you know, we stay on point with all the free games, man. Anything we can pick up. So, you know, thank you, man. I appreciate that. We're going to follow up. It's TDK, you know, from Texas, you know, all day. We're from the border. We're right from Mexico, man. So it's love for everyone, man. It don't matter the race. You know, it's all love. You know, we're all trying to do something positive.
Thank you, brother. I tell people all the time, I'm going to retire in Mexico.
Woo, whenever you want to come to the radar, have some tacos, man. Some real border food. All you guys.
Man, trust me, I had more than what you know.
Appreciate it. I'm going to shoot you that email on Sunday. Thank you, man.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, man.
Well, thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you guys for coming out. I think we're going to try and get back on our bi-weekly schedule.
And I think it's actually going to be weekly because I didn't even tell the panel yet. We got HBCUs as a micro group. I'll get y'all a date soon. We got another group. We got a couple different subset that won't be public, but just micro groups. So I'll hit y'all on the side for that. Sadly, we only get a chance to talk as a group right now. But so we might be going next week, but just with the HBCUs.
Oh, this is gonna be dope.
Cool, cool.
So, but no, thank you everybody for investing your time. We appreciate you. And if not, we'll definitely see the public group bi-weekly again, to Dave's point. And I'll figure out if we could open up the HBCU conversation to everybody.
All right.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Everyone have a good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.